I think so.
Are you ready, Jason? Are you excited?
Jason looks relaxed and ready.
So find some
You can't.
You can be ready when you got a Corona in your hand. Heck yeah.
I can do the bottle.
Yeah, right there on the door. Oh, there you go. Open it up.
Shows like Nazi.
Gentlemen, raise your glasses.
Glasses.
It's the start of episode what?
Show
9?
10.
Show 10.
Show 10 right here.
Click. Oop, click, click.
Bam.
Jeremy, air clink.
Oh yeah, here we go.
All right. Show. I better drink it.
Oh yeah.
All right, Rob, lesson.
Ready? Mm-hmm. All right.
Welcome to show 11.
Welcome
10.
to Show 10, Untitled Car Project.
Woo!
Thanks, y'all, for being here. I'm Rob Spring.
Jeremy Molt.
I'm Grant Gonzalez.
We're here with Jason Braunberger today. Jason, thanks for coming.
Howdy.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you being here.
Hi, Jason.
We have got a giant host of topics today. I know Grant was extremely excited to have you here.
Oh, I brought research.
He's gonna grill you.
Yeah, for day. I was like, called Rob. I was like, "How does this sound? Does this sound? Can we ask this? Can we do this?"
It's gonna be amazing.
You know what's great about having our own show?
But
We can ask anything we want.
Any damn thing we want.
what color's my underwear?
He doesn't.
I don't want to know.
He doesn't-
Brown?
He doesn't have to answer, but
No, he
can
said
ask the
his.
question. So before we get going too deep, we fixed the Facebook issue, and don't tell me people don't use Facebook.
People still do use
People
Facebook.
use Facebook. That's
Yeah.
old people
do
use Facebook.
Yeah,
A lot
do
of people
kids
use
use Facebook?
Facebook.
That's another thing.
A lot of people use Facebook. So we now have a Facebook page, or profile, I should say, Untitled Car Project. You might see a post here and there, everywhere. It seems to be actually working pretty well. So everybody, thanks for listening.
Friend
really
it.
appreciate it. And hit the follow button if this is your first time listening. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Before we jump into other topics, Grant, I wanted to bring up the Chrysler Turbine car
Yeah.
from last
Because
episode.
we talked about that.
We did, and I was uneducated on that. I watched the hour-long show, and it was really good.
Right?
It was really, really good. Jason, you know about the turbine car?
I've heard about it. I've not researched it.
I have to say real fast, because when we were talking about it last time, because I know Jeremy had watched that documentary point, I've watched it, and I correct me if I'm wrong, it's like your attitude towards that car was like, oh, of course it wouldn't work because like the ground would catch fire.
Inefficient and, well, no, my whole thing was it's got to be inefficient,
Yeah.
right?
And but I was
they
saying
kind of solved that.
But I was saying is it seemed like, and they addressed in the video, that most people's persona of it was that.
Yeah, I could see.
And it was very interesting in the documentary how they like covered. And go ahead, talk about that.
Yeah, no, it was really good. Like you said, people's perception of it was it would be really hot. You wouldn't be able to put your hand behind the car where the exhaust came out. Well, they solved that somehow. Fuel economy for the time wasn't bad. It was like between 15 and 19 miles a gallon.
Yeah, which is nuts.
They could burn any fuel they wanted to. The biggest drawback that people noticed of the car was it was loud. You couldn't turn down that turbine sound as they're driving through the neighborhood, you know,
that's what-
screaming like a jet.
And that's with 1960s technology. Imagine if that advanced more, we'd have such quieter.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah.
You could have made it quieter, more. So my biggest curiosity about the thing was what killed it. What killed the program? And there's a lot in that that documentary that was kind of sad. Like it had 50-some cars, 55, I think it was 55. Only 9 are surviving. 9
And one's in a personal collection, which is Jay Leno.
Leno's.
Everyone else is in a museum.
Right. What killed it was they couldn't meet EPA standards even for the 50s. And
Wow.
the EPA standards were not high back then, but they couldn't meet it. Now, if that program had continued, they could probably have done it over time.
Didn't they also say in the documentary the other big thing was Chrysler at the time was hemorrhaging money and they couldn't have enough money to continue?
They actually thought that program was going to bail them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I share that link to that. Put it on our Twitter.
Yeah, I'll put it on our Twitter. We'll put it on social media so people could see this. It's a really fascinating document. It's on.
It really is.
It's on Haggerty YouTube channel, and it'll be shared on fairly soon. But definitely recommend everyone to go check that out.
It's worth the watch. I'm hesitant. Grant Grant sends me a lot of links.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you, a lot of links. I don't open them all, but
where do you think I get all this knowledge from?
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that one was really good. I was impressed. I have actually started watching more of the links that he sends me, but it's
even though they're an hour long.
It's out of sheer boredom that I'm doing it, but no, they're really good. The other one that I stumbled across that you've referenced was
Jurassic Park. You started watching that series.
I have not. I mean, I did watch one of the movies because it was on the other day, Jurassic World.
Yep, and then Jeremy started.
I really hate that you bring it up every freaking episode.
Why would maybe?
You know it's his Easter egg.
Yeah,
he wants people to find it,
and they found it. Now we probably have to start a new one.
New what?
New Easter egg.
Fine, if you'll stop bringing up Jurassic Park.
No, see.
Oh, and
what did I do this week for you?
Oh, he brought up wait till later on this episode. We got more Jurassic Park stuff to talk about. I found something I haven't made today
you won't
about
know
cars, Jurassic
either.
Park. He has something Jurassic Park car related he brought up. Jason, are you ready for some science fiction dinosaurs and cars?
We're going to skip right over it. We're not even going to.
Wow.
I'm going to delete it.
You won't even know.
Post.
You won't even know I've dropped it.
Yeah,
I do the editing. I'm just going to delete the whole section. So listener, if you hear something, we lead up to something and then we jump into another topic, that's what happened. That's what happened.
I don't know. I thought I had something to contribute because there was like a Jurassic Park car on the freeway.
There we go. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And
Was it
how
the
much
Jeep?
commitment?
Yes, it was.
I'm like, come on. How much commitment is that?
You know they sell those. They actually sell those as a package.
Oh man.
If we're talking,
no idea.
If we're talking about, I actually saw on my way here a Jurassic Park newer Jeep.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the logo on the side,
The logo.
Gladiator.
Yeah.
You're echoing.
Sorry, I saw a Jurassic Park Gladiator Jeep on the way here. I was like, oh, so cool. You want to just get away and tell me what you saw this week, Jeremy?
I'm getting sad about this already.
No, I don't want to bring it up yet.
Not yet? Okay.
Yeah, it's not time.
I wanted
that segment's towards the end.
Yeah, I want to drop it when you're not expecting it.
That's the Easter egg.
I was going to give Jason a preview and let him think about it, but now it's going to be a surprise.
Okay.
Oh, God. All right, where were we?
Hi, Jason.
Yeah, so the Turbine car, we want to put that link on Twitter and maybe we'll share it on Facebook or something like that. It's really interesting. Top Gear is the other YouTube channel that I've been watching a lot of. They actually have some great documentaries on there.
Yeah.
The new Top Gear. It's not the same
old one,
the same three morons.
Is that with Tanner Faust?
No.
No?
They've gone through like
No, that's
3 or
the
4
US
different
version.
hosts.
That's the US
That's the US
version.
version.
Yeah, this is the British version.
And in the UK, they've let 3 or 4 different hosts.
Yeah.
And one of the magazine editors is now one of their YouTube guys talking.
He's pretty good.
Yeah.
He's a little awkward sometimes, but so far
They
their
actually
topics are good.
I believe I sent you a video this week of one of their videos they were talking about, which was the editor guy was talking about was reviewing the McLaren F1 and the new Gordon T50.
Yes.
And that was
I saw that was T50 and the T50S. The Gordon Murray cars. He's, so the listener knows, he's the designer of the McLaren F1. So these two cars are very similar, as the driver sits in the center and then you've got the two passengers back a little bit into the sides. Pretty extreme cars. I would recommend watching that one as well. It's pretty good.
It's interesting to, I think with the new T50, it's really hard to make a successor car, but that you don't think clicks a lot of buttons.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty damn good one.
And the T50S, I guess the S is for sport, or because it's more of a race version of the same car. Pretty extreme, pretty cool.
Yeah,
I actually got to walk up and was right next to one of those McLaren F1s.
Oh, really?
We were at a race down in California, and Jay Leno showed up.
Oh, nice.
And drove it in.
Oh, nice.
And that car's way smaller than you'd think it would be.
That's something about all the exotic supercars and whatever. They're quite small.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember, because I've been around the McLaren F1. I've been around several supercars, but the last time I was around one when I was probably 15 or 16, something like that. We one of the shows that we go to every year as a family, the theme that year was supercars, and we had, this was back in 2000, probably 9 or 10 or so, and we had like Enzo's Porsche Carrera GTs, but someone brought a McLaren, and for me at the time, again, becoming from a Ferrari family, I knew it was a important and special car, but didn't give it, I should have been like more looking and being like, ooh, nah. But to me, it was like, this is a cool car. But then seeing the Enzo, I'm like, that's a cool car.
Yeah.
The Enzo.
The Enzo. Yeah. Well, it's got the name and everything. But
I don't remember it being too small of a car.
Enzo feels a little bigger than most of them.
Yeah.
It's longer.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only seen one in person. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
All right.
For a V12 in the back of that thing, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of space behind the...
No, yeah. Nah. I don't know. Do you think they're making V12s more compact? Is that a thing?
I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if they make the cylinders smaller,
or closer together.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it all be about the head design? That's what comes down to make it a smaller package.
Well, everything's going to have to be closer together, but being able to cool it all and still lubricate it and that kind of stuff, I'm sure that they work on that kind of thing. Or
when your piston diameters get smaller, you can kind of start staggering them. I mean, we always think about V8s. You put them all in a straight line.
Yeah,
Wouldn't they call it a W though?
No. Wouldn't that be considered
staggered, like offset, like?
Oh yeah.
Well, and it's staggered. Wouldn't that make it a VR, like Volkswagen VR kind of configuration? Like they did in the 90s, 2000s.
What's a VR?
A VR engine is what Volkswagen did, and so it's essentially like for their version, they had like a VR6, which is like a straight 6 engine, but they're off-centered, so it makes it more like a V.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think they did that so they could move the cylinders closer together.
But I was saying
that would make sense.
If pistons are off-centered like that, does that make it that kind of style of an engine then?
It's always interesting to me, too, about V12s or 12 cylinders. Their displacements are fairly small. You get 4-liter 12.
Yeah.
Well, Ferrari used to have 2-liter V12s.
Like the Formula One engines and stuff like that were pretty small displacement, but it also allows them to turn at 13,000 RPM. Yeah, because they don't have as much stroke.
That was one thing I had never known, and talking to my engine builder. He was talking about big blocks are limited on their RPM because the mass of the head of the piston underneath the piston ring. There's a groove underneath there, and it's a stress riser. But as that piston comes up to the top of its stroke and gets yanked back down, the stress underneath there is the failure point, and it'll pop that top of the piston off.
Oh, makes sense.
So the mass of the head of the piston is what limits your RPM. Because you can't move it as fast. Yeah. So if you go the smaller diameter piston, you can
move them faster.
Yeah.
Could you remedy that by harmonic balancing it then?
Well, no, because it's the mass, the top of the piston, how much it weighs, right?
Right. So, at the top of its stroke, it's got momentum.
And it wants to pull it off like a mushroom.
It wants to pull it off like a mushroom cap, as that thing pulls back down.
Yeah.
The change of inertia is crazy.
Would the length of the stroke also have anything to do with how fast you can actually spin it?
Yeah, because the longer the stroke, the
longer it takes.
The longer it takes.
Right.
And you're going to have a higher piston velocity.
It makes sense.
With a longer stroke.
Okay.
My brain has so many cranks and gears running right now because I have so many ideas how to fix that.
Well, you better start designing your own engine.
Oh, I do.
Which I do want to talk about. Well, I might as well do it now.
Okay.
I've been designing in my head my GMC, right, my half-ton, and you talked about that Jaguar V12 in that car. I need to make a decision on what motor I'm going to put in it because I cannot lay out the frame that I need to lay out until I have a motor to attach to it. I've got to put that whole running gear under the car and get everything aligned.
Do you want to at least minimum take the V12 and then do a compression test, just check the condition of it?
Well, that was my questioning is like, what can we do with that V12? Is it worth it? What kind of horsepower can I put into it? How many options are out there to actually build that motor into at minimum 500 horsepower?
Unless it's already built up. I mean, I bought it from a race car builder.
We don't know that.
Yeah.
We have no idea what's in there.
Yeah.
So those are the things I would love some input. I mean, this is Project Cars. What do you think? What can we do? Because if I take that V12, I have to buy a bell housing to mate it to my torque tube.
12 individual carburetors.
It's $1,000, so it's commitment.
Yeah.
It's if I don't go with the V12, I'm going back to the LS3. That was my original plan. Keep it all Chevy. The 12 is intriguing.
Yeah. It depends on ultimately, like, A, your time frame of the project, and B, like, do you want it to be something. I mean, because putting an LS motor into it and what you're doing is definitely unique for that truck.
Yeah,
But
yeah. The running gear is unique.
Do you want to go even more unique than that?
LS isn't unique for that truck.
No, it's not. But that truck's going to sit on a Corvette frame. A Corvette running gear, right?
Yeah.
It's going to have a transaxle torque too.
Okay.
So that's the uniqueness of it.
So the LS
I
would be
cannot move forward
easier.
until I have a motor.
I got an idea. Why don't you post on our social media a poll, and we'll do it for a week and see what people think. LS motor or V12?
Because they're playing with my pocketbook.
Okay.
Because it comes out of my pocket.
That's actually going to be a huge factor,
It is.
right?
Yeah.
Because that V12, the Jaguar V12, is going to cost a lot more than an LS motor.
Not necessarily. I'm trading Grant for a Ghost project.
True.
So
true.
The cost of the motor is less. I would then have more money to put into building that motor, right?
So the building that motor is going to cost a lot of money.
What's your problem?
I got an ant on here.
Yeah, I noticed a bunch over here
lick it.
too.
There we go. Didn't want to make too much noise.
Anyway,
You made a bunch anyway.
So the cost of an LS3 it varies greatly. If you buy a crate motor, you're looking at probably $14,000 for a decent one, right? Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I could buy a used one out of a wrecked Camaro, which I've found a couple just this week. You're looking at $5,000 to $8,000, but you really don't know the condition. You'll have mileage, but they're not built.
I'm
still going to put money into it to build it the way I want it.
So then the factors turn into: is it feasible? Because the compression is the compression where it needs to be.
Yeah, is the motor any good? The 12 cylinder.
Does it have intake? Does it have exhaust?
Well, exhaust
what would need to be
fixable.
I think the first thing is...
Well, you can build anything.
Well, the biggest thing first is, are you going to tear down the engine and check all the internals first? Or just check compression, say it's good,
run it from there? I don't know. Those are...
all good questions.
Yeah.
All good questions, right? And there are questions that I have to make a decision of what motor I'm going to go with first.
Yeah.
I mean, not necessarily. We could take that motor and tear into it a little bit and see what it looks like.
Yeah.
Before I buy a bell housing adapter. So I wouldn't really have much into it. And that's probably should do that. But I kind of need to know, all right, I can put another 8,000. But I don't even know about Jaguar motors. Can you build a race motor? What kind of RPM can I turn in that motor?
RPM, I'm not sure, but I know you
horsepower can I make out of that thing?
Fairly positive those motors, you can get up to 475 horses.
I bet you can go higher than that.
I would hope.
Yeah.
So
I would hope at the crank I could do at least 600.
Here's what you need. You probably need the number of the motor.
I do, yeah, probably. And just to figure out exactly what it is.
You should be able to pull that up on Google and figure out where you can get parts, what kind of power you can get out of it, and that kind of stuff. Right?
I'm going to need that, Grant.
Okay.
Yeah. And figure that out.
That'll at least give you a good baseline.
I don't know. It's an interesting endeavor. It can be a black hole.
It could be, and that's
the big fear is do you get deep down that hole?
Yeah.
And so far in you can't turn back out if there's a problem.
Right. Right.
So here's a couple factors too. If you end up having to rebuild it later down the road, you're looking at 4 extra cylinders, 4 extra connecting rods, a longer crankshaft. That's probably a lot harder to get a hold of.
Yeah, sourcing that kind of stuff.
A lot more valves.
Yeah. No.
But it's cool.
Yeah,
it's cool. It would be cool as shit.
It's different. It sounds different. It'll drive different. That's the thing is a V12 is way different than an LS motor.
Oh yeah,
and it's depending on what kind of driving and what kind of style and what do you want at the end of it. Like,
I want to romp the shit out of that thing. I want to drive it like a friggin' sports car.
Can you imagine pulling up next to somebody, at a stoplight or whatever, having somebody take off and just absolutely wrapping that thing out at like 8,000 RPM,
and that's what I want to hear.
Blowing their doors.
I want to hear that thing sing.
What the fuck was that?
Yeah, that's what I want to hear. And I want to pop the hood, and I want a freaking 12-cylinder in there, and
you want somebody to look underneath the hood and be like, "Wow,
holy shit!"
Yeah, something isn't right.
That's not what I expected.
It's different than what I expected.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's been one of my goals too.
Why does that sound like a Ferrari?
That's what's so intriguing about it. Yeah, if I can get that thing to really sing and sound like a 12-cylinder, like a supercar, That's what I want. So that's very intriguing. And you offset that with, okay, the motor itself, very inexpensive, if we work out a deal here.
Yeah.
So it does allow me a lot more leeway to put money into it, to rebuild it, to add cam, to do whatever I need to do.
You know what our original thought was for that motor?
It was going in the Fiat.
No.
Or the Lambo.
It's too big. It's too big for the Fiat. But I think that's why the old man bought it, was for the Lambo.
The Lambo,
Well, no, so that V12 from the pictures I saw from the Widow, that engine was originally in the Woody car, Adam's Woody car.
Adam's car,
it was,
yeah.
That was the original motor that was in that. Then, and so I said, because you could see the picture of the same V12, but it's not in there now. The Audi motor is.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I also know that same motor, because he has another drag racing Jaguar at his house at the time.
So he used those motors to drag race.
Correct. So that's why I'm like,
That's interesting.
That's why I'm also like, don't
Is
know
it
if
already
it's built up or not.
was it a spare?
Correct.
So, well, that's really interesting.
Kind of like with the Lambo motor, we found out it's built up, but we don't know exactly. We know it's got heads. It sounds more aggressive and has like a more aggressive cam. We found boxes for the cams.
Yeah.
But we don't know exactly like what's all been done.
That's just that's a 6-cylinder, right?
It's a 6-cylinder, but it's a 3800
Grand
National motor
It's
without
what?
the turbo.
Say again, we had interference.
A 3800 Grand National motor.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Turbo?
but no turbo.
Oh.
So
There's a supercharger sitting somewhere.
yeah, I've also got 2 superchargers for it too. So, but yeah, so
Why not?
Just sitting around.
So
He does. Yeah. he
my
does.
original thought for that thing was, let's build a tube chassis very similar to like a 1960s or 70s Formula One car.
Yeah.
Because that would be epic.
That would be amazing. Absolutely. What?
Why build?
You
Why
got
not
nothing?
just
Hear anything?
buy?
You don't hear anything?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I hear
Technical
you.
difficulties. It's back. Okay. All right.
help.
No worries. It's a freaking sweatbox in here. I would open
Is
the
that
door,
thing
but
still running?
the fan's still on out there. So
I can go flip the breaker.
But I mean, why wouldn't you look at buying an older car that already had a tube chassis and grafting on?
I mean, that would be
a smarter way.
Yeah, that would probably be the easier way to do it.
I'll never forget. There was a moment I was at Sears Point, Sonoma, and we were doing some test days down there, and there was an IRL team, and this was back when Indy Racing League was doing the V8 stuff.
Yeah.
What's IRL?
Indy Racing League.
Indy Racing League. So, but I remember walking by the garages, and they had one of those Indy cars split at the middle, and it was a V8. And no lie, that's where I came to the realization. It's like, holy mackerel, these Indy cars are nothing but a motor with a driver strapped on the front. And
aren't the motors they're basically
stressed,
part of the chassis?
they are. They're stressed members.
Yeah. Okay.
So you disconnect the motor from the back of the chassis. And you're basically bolting the cockpit onto the motor.
Yeah.
And
then your rear section suspension and all bolts basically to the other side of the motor.
the other end of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
When the engine's connected to as part of a stress member, that counts as a monocoque, right? That's what definition of it?
No.
Okay.
It's different.
I don't know what would define a monocoque, but
Well, like a McLaren, your whole driving, your whole cockpit
yeah.
is a single shell
The cell.
unit. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a monocoque.
The safety cell.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the whole. I've got a conundrum on my hands. I mean, it's weird that I've started looking at that project right now. I've got a whole nother motor to put in a car, but I've been thinking about the truck.
Yeah, I know.
It's on my mind, and I'm like,
ADD.
What year
I
is
guess
it
so.
too.
67.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful
I love
truck.
that.
The
I love
lines
that
on that thing
C10.
are awesome.
I love those.
Yeah, it's actually the GMC. I mean, they're the same truck, right?
Yeah.
The GMC grill is different. It's got dual headlights instead of the single. Chevy have the single headlight. A little bit different grill. They use the same bumpers and basically the same body lines. But I don't know. I've been playing with it a little bit.
67?
So something else on the GMC, because I actually played with it this week. So it's got a little surface rust here and there. And you look around, if you search the internet, how to get rid of rust and things that will neutralize it, your homemade recipes. Has anybody looked at that?
No.
Nobody here. Okay.
No.
Except for like Coca-Cola.
I haven't tried that.
Okay.
I don't know if that actually neutralizes it or loosens it up, or
So
Makes it sticky.
yeah, makes it sticky. It's all the
Coca-Cola
sugar, right?
actually has a lot of acid in it.
It does.
I would assume that would actually trigger it into rusting faster.
I don't know, but
It cleans rust off.
yeah,
Fasteners.
acid
It does,
is supposed
but
to help, but there's so much sugar. I don't know if that really is a good option. So I went with the homemade option of vinegar and citrus.
Okay.
So I had a whole bag of oranges in my fridge. I peeled them all and I put them in the food processor and blended the shit out of them.
Should have
And I
called me.
Added vinegar. What, you got
What,
oranges?
thirsty?
I have a whole bag of citric acid at home.
No.
Oh.
I made my own.
Just add water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, anyway, and so then you put that in a vinegar solution, and it doesn't necessarily get rid of rust. You still have to work it. You know, whether it's a SOS pad or steel wool or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it honestly seemed to loosen it up. Like, I was able to scrub some rust off of that thing awfully easily, and I guess it neutralizes it. I guess time will tell. Who knows? To where it stops the rust from spreading. So I don't know. I tried it. Some rust is coming off the truck. We'll see. It goes a long ways, I'll tell you that.
I've got a gallon jug of that rust converter stuff at home.
Yeah, I bought some of that
Yeah.
for a trailer project I was doing, and that stuff seems to work pretty
That
good.
stuff's
too.
really
Turns
good,
purple.
especially for like
Yeah.
really small parts and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You dump it in a bucket and let it sit. That's-
I've taken so many cars that like parts that would be, they're 50, 60 years old and need to just go buy a new one. It's like, nah, put it in there for 3 days, stir it up a little bit,
Yeah.
just make sure, and no, it comes out brand new.
yeah, that's pretty crazy, depending on how pitted it is, I'm sure. Yeah. So, I don't know. That's another part of the project I've been working on, just playing with it because I was bored, honestly.
Have any of you guys ever tried the rust removing method with using water and electrodes?
No.
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I've seen that.
I've always
And
wanted
I
to try
kind of
it.
think it's bullshit, but please do try
Isn't
it.
that electrolysis?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's electrolysis.
Yeah.
First grad.
Yeah.
I probably will. I'll call Jeremy and be like, hey, I'm about to do something very stupid.
Hey, I'm about to melt some shit.
Yeah.
Let me buy a camera before you do that.
Okay.
My beer.
Hold my beer. I'm gonna hurt some stuff right now. If my hair turns white,
Oh, it'll
you'll know
grow
there's a
back. My
problem.
hair grows back white. Perfect. Thank you.
just don't touch it. Just stand back. It's about to explode. That sounds actually really dangerous.
Yeah.
I've seen some online stuff, and I'm like, no, that does not happen. I don't know what you think you're doing right now, trying to get people killed.
I tried to buy one of those things that they were advertising on Facebook a long time ago, and I got sucked into one of those Facebook ads.
Yeah.
But it was that Chinese laser kind of thing that would scan over
Yeah.
the rust.
Oh,
and
yeah,
convert
yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like $39.
Oh, okay.
No.
You know, the
Yeah.
price kept coming down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can lose $39.
Okay.
I'll give it a try. I never got anything. But
No, it never showed
never showed
it
up.
never showed up. I did get a couple of shipments of Ray-Ban sunglasses that were cheap knockoffs.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I'm like, I'm assuming
This
that
on
shipped
Wish?
from the company. No.
Okay.
I stayed away from that website so
what?
bad.
Wish.com.
Wish.
Have you never heard of that, Rob?
No.
Oh, it's like the website you go to buy knockoff things.
Oh,
Oh, all right. So you never got the laser.
never got the laser.
I
magic
see
thing.
those things on there too, and I'm like, does that
I
really
know.
work?
I
And how
wanna know.
expensive is that?
For $40. I thought I'd try and find out.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind having a laser to just like take paint off or
Yeah.
take off the rust or
I mean,
that
if-
really worked. That'd be
Oh
cool.
my god!
I mean, the
no.
best lasers you can get, you got to put it on freaking shark heads.
I want freaking sharks with lasers on their head.
Lasers.
Exactly. Movie reference. All right, let's talk about Jason's car.
Uh-oh.
I'm excited to hear about
I
it.
want to talk about Jason's car.
Well,
The race car.
okay.
So, what year is it?
The thing is from 1985.
85 Camaro.
85 Camaro Z28 from the factory.
Okay, it is a Z28.
Nice.
All right, so you have had it since when?
I bought it circa. Oh man.
1955.
Back to the Future.
No, it had to be about 1992.
Okay.
And it was in tough shape.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask because I know what it looks like now.
Yeah.
And we'll share that with the listeners.
No.
Jason's car I love Jason's car. It is a little rough.
Oh yeah.
It's full on race car.
It gets beat for a reason.
Yep.
Is it
But
2-seat?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to ride with you.
Oh, you do. It is such a
That's
good
why
ride.
it's there.
It's a good ride. It is fun.
I love riding with people.
So you've had it 92, and it was rough shape then.
It was rough shape then. I came back. It was funny. A funny story about it. I bought it at dusk. I couldn't tell the Earl Scheib paint job was an Earl Scheib paint job.
Okay.
It was ugly.
Oh,
But I got this thing. I'm excited because I like the car.
yeah.
And I'm driving it home, and I bought it in like Santa Monica area and down near LA. And then I'm driving over the hill to go home. I was living in North Hollywood at the time. I didn't even make it over the hill before the thing broke down.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
No.
I got to know, was it originally a 305, a V6? Was it automatic?
We're gonna get there.
Okay.
You just hold your pantyhose up. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're in mid story here.
Well, he just bought it, and I was like,
bought it.
what was the beginning when he bought it?
Well, the funny thing is once I get it back, I start working on the thing, and I'm all excited. I'm gonna make this car fancy now, and I'm gonna check out all these problems. And I'm at this apartment in Van Nuys, and I'm working on the car, and I take it out and I run it down the road really hard after doing some work, just right after I bought it.
Pushed it
And
back.
man, the thing exploded.
Oh, damn.
There was flame underneath the passenger side.
Okay.
And that's when I discovered that somebody had disconnected the EGR return from the catalytic converter.
Okay.
And so when I was jumping on it, it just loaded the cat full of fuel. And it exploded out that little hole.
Wow.
But yeah, I thought I had made the worst purchase in the world.
Oh, wow. So your plan for the car when you bought it was going to be a daily?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was my daily. And yeah, I drove it around quite a bit.
Yeah. Took a lot of work to make it actually semi-reliable.
It wasn't too bad. I spent hours. I'll tell you, the pick-a-pull lots in LA. Oh my word, that was my go-to.
Yeah.
And I'd roll out to the pick and pull, and I'd walk out with pockets full of interior screws.
Oh, yeah.
And all the stuff that got messed up or lost.
Yeah.
Well, while you were doing that, what was the biggest piece of gold you found?
Boy,
Good pull.
that's a good. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Ponder that.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Because I was always looking for the Camaro parts, but it was the biggest thing for me was always finding center console parts. That was the hardest. And GM had these.
Every time you take it apart, you lose something or
You
break
lose something.
Yeah.
They had those little Torx head ones that were special. They all, and it annoyed me when things didn't match.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I still get annoyed at that.
Yeah.
It bothers
Yeah.
me.
I hate when I'm working on a car and it actually has both metric and standard shit.
That's a
drives
Chevy.
me crazy.
That is really frustrating.
As a Chevy.
Or like the Torx head, and then the next one over is a Phillips. And
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do with
doing
this
here?
shit?
How many times do I have to go to the toolbox because you can't use the same screws?
That was an interesting one I learned on that Camaro because 85 Camaro was in that period where they were transitioning. Most fasteners in the car were metric, but if it went into the engine block, it was SAE. Because the blocks are all American, and it was basically set up for that. So yeah, anything that went into the block was SAE, and then once you got past that, it was
Metric. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So when did they go from Gen 2 to Gen 3? Was it 83?
82.
82.
82 was the first Gen 3,
Okay.
and then that went through 92. And then 93 was the first Gen 4.
So you bought the car, it was only 7 years old. How rough could it have been?
I know. You're telling me?
Yeah. Wow.
Military kid?
Like,
No, I think it was a drug dealer.
That makes sense.
just
Yeah.
drove the crap out
Drove
of it.
the crap
Just
out of
beat
it.
it up.
It was
Beat
his
it up.
delivery car.
That would explain.
Must have been, yeah.
Yeah, that would explain why he had the self-destruct button in the catalytic converter.
Well,
No doubt.
I mean, the funny thing is I did get it painted. I started autocrossing it. It was the color it was when I bought it. Had the Earl Scheib paint job on it, and Bert's brother Dan was a painter. And Bert too. It was nonstop. They were talking about this ugly ass car I was driving, and so I finally got Dan, his brother, to paint it, and it was great. Dan that car came out beautiful when he did it.
Yeah.
But he found 3 bullet holes down the driver's side door.
Oh,
Really?
I did find something.
Wow.
Okay.
That's
And
funny.
it's like, oh,
So they'd just been patched over, and
they'd been patched over, and that's why I had an Earl Scheib paint job on it.
oh yeah.
So the car's had a history.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and now it's
The thing I love
Nice
about it is
treated.
you've had it ever since.
Yeah.
Never got rid of it. You've
I've
just
never gotten
worked
rid of it.
over.
It was a daily driver here in Portland while I was working at ConMet, and I was on my way to work one day, and I was on MLK, 4 lanes wide, and the 3 left lanes had stopped, and I didn't realize I was in the 4th lane, and I didn't realize they were waving a truck by.
Oh,
And I'm doing about 35 miles an hour, and all of a sudden a little
blind.
Datsun truck drives right in front of me, and I T-boned him, hit the center of his rear axle in the center of the hood of my car.
oh wow.
Gave him a good pirouette, but it totaled out my car.
Oh wow.
And then you rebuilt it.
And then we bought it back from insurance, rebuilt it, and it's been a trailer queen pretty much
So
ever since.
is that when it became full-time race car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would it have still been? Would it eventually have gone to a full-time race car at some point, or would you have been the person to have your daily driver become also dual as your race car?
I think it would have become a race car eventually,
Yeah.
regardless. It was pretty beat up. I mean, I love those cars, and I'd love to have a good one, but man, it takes a lot to keep them maintained. And
I would like to have one as well. Yeah.
Question:
Yeah,
Why a Camaro?
Happenstance.
I was gonna say
I think he just happened into it.
I like the shape of them. I like the body style in the '80s. That's what I really liked about them.
Yeah. Well, and it's 7 years old. It was only 7 years old when he
was
bought
only
it. So
7
it
years.
seemed, it was
Newish.
still newish. It still had the current body style.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because they made it through 92 and he bought it in 92.
92.
So then they changed in 93 and
93
everybody's
was the
like,
body
oh, that's kind of, no, I'm just kidding.
No.
Was there actually in
I still
'92?
like
Was
the body
there
style.
advertisements for the new Camaro then?
In '92.
Yeah, because '93 they
Yeah,
they came
late
out the new one.
92,
Yeah.
like November, December, they
That-
would have started the ads
I
for
think
it.
so. Yeah.
Okay. So now basically back to Grant's question. What motor did it start with?
So it started with what's called a 305H series motor, which was a carbureted 305, made 185 horsepower.
Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't just Ford.
It almost, no, it was all manufacturers. That almost rivals the Corvette at the time, power-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think the Corvette was only 189.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, it,
I don't know, it's
it
a step
took
up, though.
hours,
A little bit.
hours to get that car up to speed.
Oh, yeah. Well, 373s probably.
Yeah,
Street gears.
I had it out on Peoria Road between Corvallis and Springfield one time, and I say this I don't do the things like this often, and I'm very careful about what I do.
Well, when we were younger, we
Yeah,
did stuff
no.
that wouldn't do.
But I was out on a farm area, and I could see it was dusk, so everybody was running headlights. I could see the road, I could see clear everywhere, and I'm like, what is this car going to do? And I did. I punched it, and I held it to the firewall as long as I could, 5th gear, wait. I hit all of 127
Wow.
before I had to
I'm sketched out.
yeah.
It took like 3 minutes to get there.
It was forever.
Yeah.
I mean, it felt like I was going for miles, and
Yeah.
I'm like, just get there.
You're just like, when's the turbo leg gonna end?
Yeah.
Yeah, 305s were not known for their giddy up, really. And that was it was built to be a cruiser car. It wasn't built for.
Yeah.
But also at that time, nothing had a lot of horsepower.
No, it's.
so.
I mean, the horsepower numbers we see these days are things of
Oh, they're
today.
insane.
Of the dreams.
Yeah.
The dream world.
Yeah, back then.
I mean, I think back because even thinking about tonight talking about some stuff about old cars or things that you'd like to do.
Yeah.
And it's like I look back at the 60s and 70s and 80s cars, and it's like, yeah, they didn't. First off, they didn't make any power. And then secondly, they were so pitchy and so much roll to them and stuff. And
Right.
I don't know. It's just it's weird. I don't know.
So, what did the IROC have? Is it the same motor?
The IROC was they had the Z28, and then they didn't have the SS, I don't think, at the time. And I think it was the IROC Z28.
Had the 350 in it.
It had a 350, the 5.7 in it.
Yeah.
With
And then
T56.
and then they started doing like these different spindles for like the 1LE spindles and things like that. But there wasn't that big of a difference, you know.
Yeah, I bet horsepower.
So that was
really
186 horse then.
Yeah, 187.
I was thinking 190. It might have topped out at 192.
I think they were like 235 or 225.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Yeah.
But
So not a huge difference, enough as a selling point for sure.
Back then, it was a huge percentage change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So you wreck the car, buy it back. Did the rebuild start like
$300 bought it back.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, what year did you crash it in?
That would have been 99? 2001.
Yeah.
Somewhere right in there.
Yeah.
But they didn't realize. I mean, at the time, it had subframe connectors, trailing arms, Coney yellows. I mean, it had a bunch of work.
You had already done a bunch of stuff.
I had already done a bunch of stuff to it. And
was that just for joyriding? You wanted to soup it up? Or
well, it started autocrossing.
You did. I did. Before you, okay.
Yeah. I did know that with the car with T-tops, before I ever autocross, I put subframe connectors under the car.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because then I started autocrossing. The first time I came out to autocross, I was instantly into C prepared. Because of subframe connectors.
Yep.
But there was a guy up here in Portland, I forget his name, that swore I was an ESP car.
So subframe connectors on that car, are they weld in?
Mine were bolt-in.
No, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
In case I buy one.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm not real happy with them. My passenger side, I think there's a problem in my car on my passenger side because of my subframe connector, because I had to shorten it because of an exhaust collision. People aren't used to those cars being that low and running big exhaust.
Well, I wonder, did you ever have the frame checked for square?
No.
So
I'm sure it's tweaked.
Yeah, something in there.
Yeah, something's pretty bad.
But okay, so that answered the question though. You started modifying it for autocross and whatever before it was wrecked and dedicated as.
Yeah. It first ran in autocross, I think, in '96.
Okay.
So 1996, I was running with Oregon Region up here. The old Conway Freight lot, some stuff like this. Weird places we'd run.
Yeah.
But I got into autocrossing and I kind of liked it. I was running with Oregon Region and Eugene. Yeah. And then just started running more and more. But then it was fun. He started to build the car and was having fun, racing against Bert and some guys down there. And
guys we still see today.
Still run with.
So was that your first foray into autocross? You didn't?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
How'd you get introduced to autocross?
Oh, that's a good question.
I can't.
Because back then, it's not something you can go on social media for.
Right?
No, I was up here, actually. I was on an internship for Freightliner while I was going through school. And I was up here. Well, was that... Did I even get it? I got it before then. I can't remember. I don't remember how I first got into it. I know I got into the Eugene Club, or the Portland Club, through the Society of Automotive Engineers. I just got some exposure through that. But
perfect. I heard that.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah, I kind of wanted to touch on, as we crack open a couple of beers, you need another?
I'm good for right now.
The mods you did were specific towards autocross, so that's good. And then, when did you? Because that's not the same motor in it, or in
no?
Yeah. When did you go there?
Wow.
Because that motor's been in there a long time.
Is it the same motor?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
So
good story.
The motor that the motor that originally came in the car got me up until about 1996 or so. And then I was back up in the area. I had been down in California and brought it back up into the area and was going through community college and returning back to school and being a proper human being again. But
we all try that once in a while.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we realize, fuck that. I don't know.
Responsibilities, I don't know.
What was I thinking?
Yeah.
But I turned to my friend Russ down in Cottage Grove and I asked him, I said, I'd like to know how to rebuild a motor. And I knew the motor in my car needed to be worked on. And he told me he could do it, but he really didn't have the bandwidth. But he introduced me to this guy, Jeffrey Mailer, who was amazing. and he's now deceased. But Jeffrey was a great friend of mine, and we developed a great friendship. But Jeffrey taught me how to rebuild a motor.
Nice.
And we just spent hours and hours doing it. So we rebuilt that motor, and that was my daily driver still. I was going to and from college and doing all that kind of stuff. And then, and I looked it up the other day, and I don't want to say the year incorrectly. I want to say it was somewhere around 2003 or 2002, where when I saw the first receipts for the motor that's currently in the car from Snow.
So did you build that while the other one was still running?
It was still running.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had been working with open wheel cars in a race shop, and had met Tim Schnell, my engine builder. Super neat guy. And got a lot of respect from him just working around open wheel cars, because he'd come out on the race weekends and take care of keeping those things running. And it came to the point I went to Tim, and I'm like, Tim, I think I need a race motor. And I always tell the joke, and he says, what's your budget? And I said my budget was $4,000. I was young and stupid at the time.
Yeah.
And I joke and I say, and in hindsight, $4,000 to me was a running motor, carburetor to exhaust, and to an engine builder, $4,000 is a short block, But it is what it is, and Tim did me a great deal. Got me that motor on fairly cheap. Excuse me. We ran it 1 year, and speaking of cheap, he told me that I needed to put rocker stud girdles on the thing as soon as I could afford to. I'm like, okay, whatever. I take this motor out and I start running, and I didn't even make it through a season. I broke 2 rocker studs, put some shrapnel down through the oil passages, scarred the crank.
Yeah.
So the motor made it 1 year, came out, got refreshed. Tim already saw some problems with the motor already, so we got it back together, put it in for another season, and it was fine. I think before the next season it came out again, and Tim took a look at it one more time, and it was at that point in time we went to splayed 4-bolt mains and some things like that. He was seeing wear in the motor that he hadn't seen before, and 2-bolt mains weren't strong enough to hold up to what we were doing.
Gotcha.
As little power as I was building.
Yeah.
But
what power was that motor?
So when that motor first was built, and we went and did a chassis dyno, I think I was about 370 horse and about 360 foot-pounds of torque.
I mean, compared to where it came from,
right?
That's pretty good.
It was huge for where it had come from.
Yeah.
But I cheat in that car is geared to make that motor work well.
Okay. I mean, that's not cheating. That's just smart.
Yeah. I run into some problems, but it's the only way I can hang with a lot of these other cars.
Right.
But the car's got 411s in the back, and then the transmission is custom geared for me.
Yeah.
And no lie, when I talked to the guy that back in North Carolina, whose name was Bubba, that built my transmission and gave me my gears, I was talking to him on the phone, and I said, hey, these are the gear sets I want for 1, 2, and 3. And he was like, are you sure? He's like, I don't think you're going to be happy. I told him I was never going to need 4th gear.
No, darn it.
So the car's got about a 1,200 RPM drop first to second, second to third, and then third to fourth is 3,600 RPM.
Yeah.
But it sure makes driving first, second, and third a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. But so on our bigger courses, you struggle. If you have to go to fourth,
I'm doomed.
It's a bear.
Yeah.
What do you top out in third gear?
About 87.
Okay. Most of our courses,
and the car was built for Autocross.
Good to go.
Yeah.
Good to go. Yeah. So really, and your car is a hoot to watch. Yeah. So tell us about that transmission then. Because that's special built for that car.
It's special built for that car. It's a Tex Racing T101A. And it's a straight cut dog box. Mm-hmm. So it's basically just like a motorcycle. You can shift it with no clutch.
With no clutch, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's got an upgraded tail shaft on it that's from the new 101 GFA, or I don't know what it is when I bought it. Mm-hmm. But the great thing is I bought it through a shop that had done transmission work before, and I got my choice of gears. So they would stand behind it.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool that you can just choose what you want.
Choose what you want to put in it. And I'm looking at trying to probably get my second and third gears changed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I want to drop the drop the gap between 3 and 4.
Yeah, I can see that. But do you want to? So you want to stretch out second and third?
I want to stretch second and third a little bit.
Maybe bring
more.
fourth back a little bit.
I can't. Well, fourth is 1-to-1.
It's it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's straight through.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So every four-speed gearbox is 1-to-1.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So if you stretch out 2 and 3, you get it a little closer. What are you shooting for? 2,500 instead of?
Yeah, something like that. Something that if I was to go out and do a ORP day, I could be comfortable going 3 to 4.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Not drop as much RPM.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So that motor though.
Yeah.
How many seasons you run on that motor? We're going to put it out there.
That's what it is. And that's the scary thing is, and I was doing that, and I want to be careful on the number, but I believe if I'm correct, this is my 22nd season on that motor.
Damn.
Yeah. That's what I think is just awesome.
And after 2 seasons, so 20 years consists, that motor has been in the car 20 years without a rebuild.
Yeah.
And, you're aware that some people that aren't go out and see what we do, but, you can tell I'm really gentle on that motor.
Okay.
Yeah, just as gentle as Bert.
You want to call that gentle? We'll post. I've got a little video of you driving. We'll post that.
Oh yeah. Well, and the funny thing is you go back and talk to Tim, a motor builder, and I told him the other day I got 22 seasons on it.
Yeah.
And he just looks at me and says, "Well, you got to build power to break things." And you're just like, "Oh, come on."
I thought you did build power.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was on my budget, so I got what I paid for.
That's true.
But
You got your money's worth.
You got your money's worth.
I
100%.
have totally got my money's worth out of that motor.
Yeah, that's honestly really awesome. And that car is so fun.
22 years of fun out of that thing.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, let's be honest. So I started with the gearbox because I was putting it was a T5 that was in the car. Mm-hmm. And then what was happening is I was tearing all the teeth off of second gear. I did that twice. And the T5s have a problem where the lay shaft, the lower shaft in the transmission, under stress starts to walk away from the main shaft.
Oh.
And so under a lot of power, they start to walk away from each other, and that's where you take teeth off.
Yeah.
And so I had made a whole CNC cut plate that goes on the front of a T5 and reinforces it and stop that problem.
So it can't move. Yeah.
And we still broke.
Wow.
Is that why people went to the T, especially the IROC with a T56 rather than T5?
Yeah, and then there was a world class. Yeah. What was that?
I don't know.
What?
That was where it got a little interference.
Weird.
Oh.
Yeah.
Must have been the neighbors.
Picked up a radio signal or something there.
I must stop broadcasting to my people.
Came in through Grant's fillings.
But yeah, there's been some fun stuff. I mean, there's some magic little stuff in that car that I've stumbled into. I bought a clutch package that I bought from a guy that I was doing some work with that had he wanted to go road racing in like a Trans Am series. But I bought his whole clutch package, and I didn't know what I was getting at the time, but it was the Quartermaster magnesium bell housing with the annual slave cylinder with all the stuff that bolts it into the bell housing. And at the time I bought from the guy a Quartermaster double disc 7.25 clutch.
Is it the RR?
It wasn't the RR. It was actually a road race clutch. And what was funny is I called Quartermaster to get parts, and they're like, "Wait a minute, what do you?" And the guy starts talking to me. He says, "What are you doing with this?" I said, "I'm autocrossing." And he's like, "And how many launches are you getting?"
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's
"Well,
awesome.
we're getting a couple seasons out of a clutch." And I'm like, a couple hundred launches. And he's like, "Those clutches you're running are like," he says, "they're super speedway clutches for NASCAR.
Yeah.
They're intended to get the car out of the pits, and that's it." And he's like, "And they're thrown away at the end of a season or at the end of a race." And he's like, "How are you getting through that?" And I don't know.
Just
works.
feathering the clutch.
Feathering the clutch.
Yeah,
We're running the rally clutch now.
Okay, that's the one I run.
Yeah. Which
That's
So
amazing.
something a little more
I can
It's got a
abuse
little
it,
more beef to it.
grip to it, probably.
or I can put somebody in the car and not be afraid that it's going to come back without a clutch. That rally clutch is pretty forgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a light switch, but still. It's still the 7 1/4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a good clutch. I really like the Quartermaster stuff.
I do too.
Yeah.
I've been pleased.
Yeah. I'm super stoked with it.
I gotta say, with that transmission though, we're gonna post an audio of it at some point. Not in this on media. Anyways, you have probably the most unique sounding car out there.
It sounds so cool.
Yeah.
It really does. It's got just an awesome whine to it.
Sounds supercharged, and it's
It
the
does,
straight
yeah.
cut dog box
Yeah.
transmission.
Yep. I really like it.
But leading into the second question was, guys, when did you remove the radio then? Because that was a daily car. So like after it was wrecked, is that when like
Maybe it
everything
never had one.
No, it came out right after it got wrecked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that point in time, I had visions that I was building the world's baddest autocross car.
Sure.
So everything came out, and in hindsight, I wouldn't have taken some of the stuff out I took out.
So
Really?
what you're
Yeah.
telling me is you didn't need to hear the music in the car?
Not like Grant.
No. I mean, I have to even say with that like gearbox you've got, that's a great music.
That is music.
Yeah,
It is.
I enjoy that too. Like hearing that, it's like okay, cool.
Yeah. That car's it. I love riding in that thing. It's a hoot. Man, that thing is a hoot.
I take it for granted a lot of times, and it's because I've driven it for so many years. It's like an extension of me.
Yeah.
Are you saying it's like a Liger?
No.
Does it,
Not saying
does
that.
it have a name?
It does not. It does not.
That's all right.
And
What is still? It's got 411 gears in it. Is that the stock rear end, or did
No.
you? What do you have in that?
that actually came from who was it? Strange Engineering. So that was actually a Strange Engineering full built 3rd gen rear end 12 bolt. So it was a direct bolt in for
Custom.
the 3rd gens. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
But it is a 12 bolt, a GM 12 bolt with
Oh, wow.
floating axles.
Oh, okay.
And
What was it
what's the-
factory?
factory was like a
Three.
Probably 373.
373s on a 8.8 rear Australian Borg Warner rear end.
What's a floating axle?
Well, mine does not have C-clips. That's what it is.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Right. So if I want to pull axles, I've got to pull 4 bolts off the end once I get the brake calipers and everything off.
Okay.
And then the whole axle just slips
Just
out the end.
slides out.
Interesting.
That easy. Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it's handy.
So it's a locker rear end.
Is it like
It's got a Eaton limited slip in it that's got carbon clutches.
It works really well.
It works out. And once again, it's one of these things. That rear end, I think, went into the car 2008.
Yeah.
So we're
Still
probably
going.
looking at 16, 17 years
Yeah.
on that rear end. And I haven't done anything to it.
Yeah.
And it's still spinning both?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He
Oh.
slides that car like no tomorrow.
Yeah, it works so well.
Yeah.
I had from an autocross guy, I bought one of the Australian 8.8s that had been modified to stick a lot better. And it was funny when I first got that. I was still street driving the car. I put the whole rear end in the car, and I go to pull into a parking spot, and you could hear the back end chirp, 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 chirp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this Eaton, I've never heard a sound out of it, and
Wow.
it just hooks up.
Interesting.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I drew a blank. I was something else.
Going back to that daily drive, I had a question way back because you said that when it was still daily driving, you put a second engine in it, correct?
It was the factory engine just rebuilt.
Okay, but you rebuilt it, but you made more power with that motor, correct?
I don't know. We didn't do anything other than just freshen it.
Oh, okay, just checking because I was trying to figure out. I thought you built it up. And I was like, how did you balance between power and being a daily?
Oh,
Yeah.
no. At that time, I was just trying to get a reliable car because I was driving from Springfield and Eugene to Corvallis and back 4 days a week.
Yeah. So, just from being around you and Nick and Bert, guys that drive the Camaros and that kind of stuff, the frame on that car is a little bit weak, right? So, what have you done with that? What kind of issues have you had with that reinforcement? And when did the cage go in? The second part of that, did the cage go in to help with that, or?
Cage went in shortly after it was wrecked.
Okay.
And it's interesting, much like Grant probably does. I went through some gyrations and found out that you could get the standard cages out there that are like 1 3/4 OD.
Grant goes through gyrations that nobody understands.
What's a gyration? I don't even understand that.
But when you swing your hips, buddy.
Oh, okay.
But then I started looking and I found a company that made a cage kit for the car that was, 1 5/8".
Okay.
OD tubing, but it was 4130, so it was aircraft steel, and it was lighter and thinner wall. And so I ended up doing all the engineering calculations, and of course confirmed that I was getting a much stiffer tube.
Yeah.
And it was lighter. So we ended up building the cage. My friend Fred, who now works for Lawrence Livermore National Labs, I think. The guy's brilliant.
Yeah.
But Fred came out and welded my cage together, and I will never forget some of the gyrations we went through in there too.
Trying to get it in there.
Sorry, Grant.
Some of the hip movements.
Those hip movement things.
Yeah.
There were porta powers. We were bending and pushing.
Oh yeah. Trying to get everything lined up.
Getting everything lined up.
Probably because the car wasn't square anyway.
The car wasn't square.
Yeah.
I took the roll hoop. I shouldn't say this, but the roll hoop, I didn't like the positioning of it.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be wider. We actually cut the roll hoop at the center in the middle.
Yeah.
And we built a sleeve for it and grafted it together.
Yeah.
And then Frenched it kind of into the bodywork a little bit in the back. SCCA would never approve it, but at the same time, it's way stronger than it.
Why wouldn't they approve it?
Because your roll hoop has to be continuous and can't be welded or cut in any way.
Just say it was 3D printed, call it good.
Yeah. It's plastic. It's fine.
You can't physically tell.
Is that the roll hoop's the one behind the driver?
Yeah, it goes up over the seats, basically, behind the head.
But, we put that cage in, and so that cage is a 6-point cage. It does not go through the firewall, so it's just inside the driver's compartment and all that.
Yeah.
I had the subframe connectors in underneath it already. We tried everywhere we could to make that cage land on top of the subframe connectors and tie it all together.
Yeah.
And we even took the cage, the roll hoop in the cage, and we plated it. So where the T-top cross brace is in my car, there's actually a big plate over that welds that roll hoop to the car there.
Oh.
And then in the side panels on either side, behind the driver and passenger seat, there's crash structure and structure back in there that we've actually Frenched the roll hoop into, and it's plated over it too.
Nice.
So we've tied that roll hoop into the whole structure of the car.
Yeah, so that's going to reinforce everything much stiffer.
And I'm still tearing the thing apart.
Yeah, where is the weak point? Where does it come apart?
So the weakest point I'm having, the hardest area I'm having problems with right now is on the passenger side. The pinch welds between the floor pan and the rockers are completely broken apart.
Oh wow!
And you can see daylight right now between. And then at the tunnel, back where the end of the shifter opening is, my tunnel is, the sheet metal is fracturing back there, and I've probably got 6 to 8 inch fractures on either side trailing back into the chassis. Yeah, and I don't know how to stop that.
So it's not, you can't get back in there. I know you know a really good welder.
Yeah.
Not fix that?
It's sheet metal. I mean...
Yeah, but the reinforcement, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Drill a hole. Past the crack.
And watch it just crack right through.
Right through.
And then weld it up and weld back.
And weld back? Yeah.
I mean...
Stop the crack propagation.
Well, it'll slow it down.
Yeah.
Who knows how long it'll last. Yeah, like if it's determined it's going to happen anyway, you're going to have to reinforce the whole thing and possibly plate over it and re-weld. But I don't know.
Yeah. Bert's had, I haven't seen it a whole lot. Bert's had like the entire back half of his car just about fracture off.
Oh, really?
That's, I remember talking to Bert about that 2 years ago maybe. But
yeah.
So are these cars fractioning because like just the amount of like twisting and motion to go through from in the corners? Okay.
Yeah.
They're not built for it.
Those poor cars.
They're not built for the amount of horsepower they're putting into them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was built for 185 horsepower, and now he's running 400.
Yeah, maybe 350, 400, 370, somewhere in there.
And Bert's is
like six.
He's got 6. Yeah.
But if it's already kind of twisting and doing that, let's say with 350 horses, I mean the IROX came with 350 stock. didn't they?
Yeah, but let's also be real that I'm running on a bit bigger tire.
True.
That's true. Yeah, we haven't even touched on that yet.
I think those factory tires were 7-inch wide or wheels, 7 or 8.
15s.
They were 245, 45, 16s or something.
You're almost double that.
Yeah.
And I'm running.
Oh no, you're 100,
335s now.
almost 100 wider.
Yeah, almost 4 inches wider.
So
and also you get onto the front of the car and like the springs, the factory. My springs are still in the factory position. Bert and those guys have built into AA arm cars. I'm still a strut car.
Yeah.
But the factory springs in that car were 550 pounds per inch, and that was the aggressive spring for the Z28.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
I'm currently up at 1200s.
Yeah.
But
you also built adjustable camber angles and everything to put in there. There's some serious engineering in your car. I want you to get granular. Talk about it. Because, we've got other people out there that actually drive Camaros, and they're going to be like, what?
Yeah.
So
I'd say the biggest gyration and the craziest I went through was 2 years ago when I put the big wheels up front.
Yep.
So just a little background on that. I had been running a 16 by 10 wheel, and it was a real racing wheel, all aluminum, nice and light. And we've been running bias plies. But I had for a long time been on a mission. I thought that there was something into the new radials.
Yeah.
I was looking at these Corvettes and these stuff coming out that are heavier than we were. We're running on bias plies, and these cars are stepping out there and just spanking us on these new A7s.
Yeah.
So I knew that the day was coming that we should be looking at going to a radial.
Yeah.
So that had started a while back, but I had gone to the radials on the back, was still running the bias plies up front, but then decided to go square. And so now it's 2 years ago I took on the mission of putting an 18 by 12 inch wide wheel up front. And that was not easy for a strut car.
So you run 18-inch rims?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're 18 335s.
335, 30, 18s.
And if you know, you know.
Yeah.
If you don't know, you're going to have to look that up. That's a really big tire.
That's a really
That's
big
making
tire.
me rethink on a few things and not do on Liger.
Well, wait until you hear this.
Yeah.
So I spent probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks, where I had taken the front of my car. I set the car level in my garage. I got it on jack stands. I had then gone and taken the springs out of the front, but put all the geometry back together. And then I was using jacks to put the wheel and tires back on, but using jacks to basically put the suspension through its full range of travel.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
And so I could see where I was going to bottom out, where I was going to hit. I could turn and see what I was going to do lock to lock.
Yep.
And I spent days and days going through gyrations with that. I ended up taking my lower control arms and lengthening them.
Okay.
Yeah, that was kind of a weird thing.
I don't think I was aware of that part. You may have mentioned it, but yeah.
I'm a little uncomfortable about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's
hey, they're still working.
Yeah, they are.
Inspect them every so often.
I do every time I get under the car. I look really closely. I had gotten these Spone lower control arms that had spherical rod ends that you could thread in and out.
Oh, okay.
For the inside pickup points.
Yep.
And I had gone back to Spone and some other people and I said, hey, can you build me a longer lower control arm? And nobody would get back to me. So then one day I went on and poked around and I found that you can get rod ends that are extended length.
Longer. There you go.
And I'm like, I don't know if this is the greatest idea or not.
Yeah.
But because of the width of the wheel that I was having to deal with, I had to put the lower pivot point as far out as I could on that.
Yeah.
And so I did. I went in and extended those lower control arms out and moved everything. And I did. It was a lot of hours just by myself.
Yep.
Just one thing after another, and you'd put the tire up until it hit, and it's like you'd mark and you'd come and cut and bang and try and tuck away, and I still buzz.
Yeah.
I'm still hitting stuff, and I still don't have my full range of motion.
Oh, okay.
I had to cut ground skirts back. I had to cut fenders back.
Yeah, that's a lot of tire you put under there. That's a ton.
Yeah.
But the amount of grip you've got on the front end is insane.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
When you first did all those modifications for suspension and for tire work, was it very immediate? Like during racing, like did your success rate First place, or like were you doing that to keep up with people because everyone was at that level?
I was chasing. I've been chasing for years right now. But it was an instant. Holy mackerel! What a change! It was. In fact, I was scared because. Well, I wouldn't say I was scared, but it was scaring me because we were up running at Shelton, and I was throwing the thing harder and harder and harder into a 180-degree turn, and it wasn't giving up.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, where is the limit? And it was starting to get a little bit scary because I was not comfortable where I was driving the car.
It's going fast enough that
Do you feel like you found the limit to the car now?
Yeah. I'm definitely there. I'm going to play a little more with shocks and keep moving back to a weird thing that I like to do. I like to stiffen the car up until the front end shatters, and I'm not there right now. And I've been backing it down because I've been in rain or it's early in the season, stuff like that. But with what I'm having to keep up with and what I'm trying to keep up with these days, it's like I've got to find everything I can.
Oh, I know the exact feeling.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, because like I were saying, with Bert and the other guys that went to a double wishbone suspension setup and you're still on the Strat, do you think there's a point where you're going to have to go that route, or do you feel like there's benefits to one over the other?
My car will never go to a double A-arm.
How come?
I'll be a Strat car.
So
why?
You put a new... Okay, go ahead.
Because if this car goes belly up on me, I'm getting something different.
Really?
Yeah.
That we'll hit on that.
That's a later topic.
Yep. You put a new K member in the car. Was that part of that? Like you had to do that with the front end modifications you were doing?
No.
Okay, well, explain to us what that is.
What that did.
What the purpose is. Yeah.
So the cross member underneath the front of the car supports the engine, and then it also provides the upper mounting points for the springs. And so it basically is your suspension carrier that suspends your motor up into the engine compartment and then attaches all of it to the chassis.
Okay.
And I had gone and placed a new K member in, and I got a tubular one. They're lighter, supposed to be stiffer, all that kind of stuff. I believe I had put it... Well, no, I guess I put it in about the same time I did that front mod.
It seemed like you did, because
I did a Watson career too.
Yeah, it seemed like that was the same.
And so that was pretty easy to do. I was surprised.
Yeah.
In fact, I didn't even have to drop a motor.
Did you notice a difference, or was it just one of those mods you felt like you needed to do, and it just is there?
Yeah, because that's one thing I've been debating on doing with Liger is back in the mod, and I'm like, is it really worth it?
Well, it's weird because technically in CP, I take a weight penalty for having that in my car.
Oh.
And I think it's BS.
Yeah.
Now that I've done it, I should have done it 10 years ago.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So it was definitely worth doing.
It's definitely worth working on the car so much easier.
Oh,
all the access to bolts, all the things you got to tighten it. It's so much nicer. It just, and I say that, and like I said, we found that the first one cracked on me.
Yeah.
But the company stood up for that really well.
Yeah.
And helped me out.
That's good. So you've done a shit ton of mods to that car.
Yeah, I've done it most.
Because I know there's people out there modding those cars and they want to do stuff with them.
Yep.
What would you recommend? Like what's a mod that's attainable, doesn't require an engineering degree to do, that somebody with that car would really benefit from?
Yeah, that car. In general, I would say that the biggest mod you can do, in my opinion, in the time that I've autocrossed, has been a harness. And not just bolting in a harness to your loose seat and saying, "Hey, I got a harness."
Yeah.
I mean, those wire harnesses get difficult.
Yeah.
ask Grant. He's all about it.
Yeah. I just know that when the car was a daily still for me, and I was working with Wilson and all that out in Boring, we built a framework that went into the back of my car and it bolted in. and it had this 2x4 chunk of aluminum on rails that came up behind the seat, and it actually like locked the back of the seat from moving around.
Oh yeah.
And then we had pins that dropped in, and then we dropped a 4-point harness in.
Yeah.
And I came out that next year and started autocrossing, and everybody came up to me and they're like, "Oh my God, you're so much faster. What did you do this year?" Yeah. And I said, "I didn't do anything.
Not sliding around in the seat."
And I didn't understand it. And then it came to me that I'd put harnesses in.
Yeah. A good seat and a harness makes a world of difference. If you're not fighting yourself, trying to steer the car and that kind of stuff, you're bracing yourself, it makes a huge difference.
Well, and I'm a huge guy. I mean, it's tough. I carry a lot of weight in me, and I take it for granted when I'm in that car and I'm at full tilt, I'm not holding on to anything. I am strapped. I know I'm part of the car, and my legs and arms are free to do whatever they want to do. And it makes a big difference.
I fully agree. Yeah, it's important to, especially in a racing situation, autocross, road race, whatever it is, you need to be strapped into that car. You need to be one with the car.
Yeah.
I do not recommend you people out there that drive your cars on the road put in any kind of 4 or 5-point harness and wear that for street driving.
Why not? I do that.
Because it'll rip your freaking head off if you get in a crash.
So mine is specific.
Now, if you've still got a airbag, you're less likely to get injured, but that is the problem. Those things strap you to the seat so hard that if you get in, it's not just whiplash anymore. It will literally rip the back of your head out.
Okay, so
it will kill you.
That's interesting because like mine, I actually swapped because Liger's got a 4-point harness, and I've swapped. It's still DOT approved and street legalized on that one. And it still has the quick release in the middle where it's still like a normal seatbelt.
Yeah, you can still get out of it, but it holds you into the seat so hard that you're going to suffer for a lot more injuries.
I didn't think about
now,
that.
if you have an airbag, that does help.
Yeah.
But seriously, it's an issue. Those stock seat belts that wrap across the shoulder are designed to allow a certain amount of give that it doesn't.
Yes. I didn't even think about that. It's also actually
it's a serious issue. I see people street racing and street driving with 5 points on, and I'm like, that is the wrong thing to do.
Well, I was going to say, like, for me, so for example, I went through the same thing as you, Jason, where like I put on a harness because I was getting to the point where my car was getting so fast, and I was like, okay, put in a harness because I was having to brace myself in order to maintain those speeds. And I was slowing down because of that, literally feet on the side, pushing, holding as I'm going through. But the harnesses I got made it so I could also be street legalized for that. So for me, a lot of
it's not illegal to have them.
No, I know, especially since, again, I said it's street legal. I didn't know that without you told me about that, Rob. But like for when I'm driving around the street, it's more comfortable for me to have the harness on that personally because I'm so used to it because I race so much with it. Having just a normal seatbelt on, I actually feel naked, and it makes me feel like I'm like there's nothing there. I'm like
I get it. And people are saying, well, if you're wearing that during racing, isn't that more dangerous? Autocross, not so much. You don't have all those things to run into. You don't have concrete walls. You don't have other cars and that kind of stuff. Now, accidents happen. Shit goes wrong. If you're going to road race with a 5-point, you better have a Hans device. Because that's where the issue is.
Control the neck.
Yes, you have to control the head.
That's what it was designed for.
That's exactly what it was designed for. Yeah.
That actually leads me to another question I had for you, Jason. So, because you caged your car, but you made yours for more autocross, right?
Yeah.
So then, because we're talking about safety and for road trip, why would you put a cage in the car? Autocross typically doesn't have speeds where a cage is like needed necessarily. Like if you were doing like a track or big one, that makes sense. But like,
I think my initial vision was that I was potentially going to track it.
Yeah.
And I have done a couple track days, but it's just gotten to the point now. I don't pursue the track stuff because the car's never been built for it. And the abuse that my hood and my rear window would take at 120 miles an hour, I don't, they'd come apart.
Yeah.
They won't hold on for that.
The extra stiffness of a cage is preferable as well in some cars. Yeah.
And that was part of what we put it in for. And like I said, when we kind of bracketed it all into the structure, I was going for increasing chassis stiffness.
Yeah.
But the guy I worked with, Bill, had a great philosophy, and I always appreciated. He had worked with Trans Am cars before in the 80s and 90s. And the big thing he said in the Trans Am cars is that they would set the cars up so that the attitude and the pitch of the car was controlled by the front end. the back end of the car being a solid rear axle is just there to push the car along and keep it behind it.
Yeah.
And so they'd set those things up super soft, and no sway bars, almost like we do in the back.
Well, I have a sway bar.
You should start thinking about getting rid of it. Well, are you a independent rear?
No. Solid axle.
You might think about getting rid of that sway bar.
Really? Well, hang on. Well, I do have a Watts linkage in the back, so it does act like an independent.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was another thing I want to ask you in a bit, but continue. Sorry.
No. Yeah, that's. But no, I as I think about that, it just mods for the car and stuff like that. But sway bar, disconnecting the sway bar was a huge one for me. But harnesses were a huge one for me, and then I don't know, the cage thing. It just, my cage is not intended to be a road race cage. It's a fat boy cage. It makes it easy for me to get in and out.
But it's there.
It's there.
Yeah.
And it it makes me feel good.
Sure. Yeah.
You don't have a Watts linkage
works
on
for
yours,
the car.
right?
I do.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. I put a Watts linkage in 2 years ago.
Okay. And did you notice, like, I know when I put mine in, that was a huge significance, like, difference in those.
All I know is the car worked really well. And I mean, I didn't, and that's something I have to, I pat myself on the back a little bit on this, and I'll take this moment to say it, but, when I did open wheel stuff, I was working on suspension setups for cars for years.
Yeah.
And I seem to have learned enough and have a knack that allows me to set a car up and take a few measurements and go out and be pretty close.
Figure it out. Yeah.
So what you're telling me is you can help me make Liger faster.
I'm sure I probably could.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. But I look at it and I did the whole front tubular control arm, lower control arm conversion on my car to the Spone equipment, and then I showed up, and my first autocross out of that was the Oregon Shootout, which was 4 autocrosses in 2 days. It was the big championship for the state, and I dominated the whole thing.
That's awesome.
And I showed up on a car that I had never run, and I set up on using strings in a garage.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the Watts linkages. You think it through and you do the stuff right, you get out there and it just works.
A lot of math.
Yeah.
There's a lot of math going on.
Yeah.
All right, Jason. So knowing what you know now about the Camaro, all the iterations it's gone through, everything it's worked through. I mean, I get that for Autocross, it was more of a matter of convenience. You already had the car.
Yeah.
You already had started working with it. You put suspension. I didn't ask you about the brakes. Those are different brakes, right?
They are. And the amazing thing, that car is still running the factory vacuum brake booster.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Wow.
But we've gone to a 4-piston Willwood up front. It's just a super light.
Okay.
With one of their aluminum hubs.
Same in the back? Oh, what?
Back is just another Willwood.
Willwood something or other?
Yeah. Nothing fancy.
Yeah, but it works.
It works.
Yeah.
And I haven't had problems.
Yeah. I like the Willwood product. I put those. I mean, they're a better brake than stock. They are for a big brake kit or whatever you want to call it. They're a little less expensive than going to Brembo or AP or whatever you want.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, what's
they're not as much, or they're more expensive than, say, the Stop Tech or whatever. Yeah, I don't know if those are upgrades or not.
Yeah, well, I feel like Willwood's supposed to be an upgrade over Brembo, but
oh no, not over Brembo.
Well, that's
I don't think so.
That's what Lisa.
I think they are a competitor of Brembo. I had Willwoods on my Nissan, and I loved them. They were great brakes.
Did you like them more than Brembo?
Not necessarily. No, I have Brembos on my Corvette.
Yeah.
You know, the funny thing is Willwood does not go after OEM. Brembo does.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, what do you mean go after?
Manufactures Brembo.
Nobody puts Brembo brake kits on a car from the factory.
From the factory. The Willwood, you mean?
I'm sorry, Willwood. But Brembo, it's on.
They do.
Yeah.
Well, is it just a manufacturer thing then? Because like Willwood, like how massive are they compared to Brembo?
Yeah, they're a big company, and they're definitely aftermarket. I think Brembo, that's a salesperson went, you know what I could do?
Sure.
And they went and sold the shit out of it. And good for them. Mm-hmm. And that's I think really that's all that is they made a deal with X manufacturer and cut a fat hog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, they already have the tooling.
Absolutely. We're already building it for your product. Let's put it on their stock, and we're going to sell a bazillion units. Mm-hmm. It's going to be amazing. So they did.
Oh, and you can charge $5,000 more for the car.
Yeah, because it's got Brembo's stuff.
Do you want to paint match it?
Right. So anyway, the question I was going to get at is, if it weren't the Camaro, what car would you select to autocross to do your racing. Maybe you do road racing, do whatever discipline you wanted to get into.
So is that? I guess that I'm going to take the approach on that I can pick a modern car.
You can pick anything you want. If the Camaro went away, even when it was early on, like when you owned it in the mid 90s and you were starting to autocross it or whatever, or maybe you didn't buy it back from the insurance company and you went a different direction, what would you get?
Yeah.
I've also got a follow-up question after this question.
I don't
probably don't need to preface that, but okay.
No, well, I mean, I don't know when to bring it up because I feel like it's a question that should be asked at the same time.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
So I don't know. It's really interesting, and I've always been a big fan of the third gens. Always have. And they've gone to the fourth. I wasn't as impressed with them. Just liked them for cars, but if I had my choice today, I would probably replace that car with a C7 Z06.
A C7.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I like the C7.
Have you driven the C7 on an autocross yet?
I have not. But I just kind of I like the look of that car.
I do too. It's a fantastic car and actually drives pretty amazingly.
Yeah, I can imagine.
What color?
Oh, that's important.
Wow.
I mean, it kind of is. Yeah, it kind of is.
I don't know. I like they got kind of a platinum gray color.
Okay.
But I like with the black carbon accent stuff. It's mean looking.
Yeah.
Scientifically, red makes it go faster.
Bullshit.
It also draws a lot more attention.
I thought it was stickers.
It was the plus. It's the +5 sticker.
+5 stickers.
Yeah.
You don't need to modify your motor. Just put +5 stickers all over it.
Yeah.
Doesn't weight it down. What's your
so my question was like, because you've had the Camaro forever, and was there ever a point that you were like, okay, I'm ready to upgrade, or I should change to another car, and why then? What made it? It's like I put so much money, or it's like the car's not meeting my specifications.
He's a project car guy.
No, I get
it. I just went through that gyration actually.
Yeah.
So, Derek Goff up in Washington. Yeah.
He's actually he's going to be on the show next week.
Okay. He's got a hold of a Camaro that I had.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So my friend Jeffrey that I talked about that helped me rebuild a motor and taught me to rebuild a motor passed away. And when Jeffrey passed away, he had an 87 Camaro sitting out underneath a tree in the forest. And I inherited that car for pretty much nothing. And it was straight. It was a T-top car, I think. It was straight. Holy mackerel. It's like,
that was a good find.
It was a great find. There was a little bit of rust in the floorboards because it had been out and the T-tops had leaked. But I brought it home, and literally my approach was going to be that car was going to get gutted and was going to be the new unibody. And then all of my suspension components and motor and everything would just come over. Because like we were talking before about how I'm starting to see cracks in the chassis and things like that. It's like it was my opportunity to get away from that and fix all those problems.
Right. Start fresh.
Start fresh.
Yeah.
And I had a great platform that I could have worked off of. And then, things happen. Didn't get as fast to it as I wanted to. Divorce, this and that. And it was just like, I don't need this right now. And then, I was sitting on the car. It was undercover, and I saw Derek was looking for a project car. And I was like, you know what? Hey, it seems like it would be a good home.
Yeah.
So it went to him.
Yep.
But, I think the more I think about it, I don't think I'd want to drive anything that wasn't rear-wheel drive, front-engine rear-wheel drive. That's what I've cut my teeth on, and I enjoy it. But my mind and my heart has... I love my car. I love driving my car. Yeah. If it was gone tomorrow, I've mentioned before, I probably would show up in a C7 Z06 or a CTSV.
Yeah.
And
you did take a couple laps in my car.
I did.
Yeah.
Thankfully. And you let me take a second one.
Yeah. After the first one. Oh, boy.
Let's go back to the Cadillac he's wanting to race.
Ooh.
Well, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. So I went and actually looked at one of those yesterday. So there was a 2017 Cadillac CTSV. And, I've got the CTS. It was exactly like my daily driver. Only it has 660 horsepower.
And 2 doors.
4 doors.
Oh, they are 4-door.
4-door.
Okay.
660 horsepower and a 8-speed paddle shifted automatic.
And it's an LS motor, right?
It's the same as the
LS7.
Z06.
Yeah.
Do they share the same platform as the Camaro? The
Uh,
newer one?
I don't think I don't think it's the same platform. They share a lot of parts.
Okay.
I started to notice that. So the CTSV basically feeds CTSV and Z06 are basically kind of the top end, and then you start CTSV parts then migrate themselves down onto the Camaro SS and the 1LE, and it's like you see the high end Cadillac parts end up on the Chevrolets like a year or two later, and then they trickle down.
Yeah.
And when you buy them, even if you're buying them for the for the Cadillac, you go and buy the GM or the Chevy parts.
Well, yeah, if you know the crossover, absolutely.
Yeah.
Pay just a little bit less.
Oh no, a lot less. So,
But
I have one.
They know what they're selling.
I have one example. So I went to get a Prindle switch for an Isuzu, and that Isuzu had the same one as a Honda Civic, a Cadillac, and I think a Chevy Camaro. Was it identical part? The Honda was $70. The Cadillac was $400.
I'll do you one better. This was recently. So I have my sister has a GMC Yukon, and the mirror needs a motor for the passenger side mirror. That motor you can get for about, from GMC, like $200, but you can get it in a Chevy for like $100 and something bucks. But it's also in a Isuzu for like $80.
Right.
But it's also in a Mercedes for $800.
Right.
Same one.
It's insane.
All the same part.
That's nuts. So lesson there, kids. Do your homework.
Do your research.
Do your research. Do your homework. It's really hard to know what parts cross over to what cars, so you can compare part numbers and this and that.
When you start getting into what's Volkswagen, Porsche, and Audi.
Yeah.
You know, I had both an Audi and a Volkswagen, and you know, you look at the brake rotors, and they've got both logos on them.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and anymore you can find them with Lamborghini logos on them.
Yeah.
Same thing. Or the Audi actually, or you find Audi parts on a Lamborghini.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, same thing. So, all right. So I don't know. We got sidetracked with CTSV.
Yeah.
And I got my follow-up question. I asked that.
Yeah.
I got a question for you, Jason, actually, about your car. If you don't mind.
Oh, I'm sure I have an answer.
Okay.
Do it.
Have you noticed over the years of racing it, has fluid been a big thing for your car? Like the brands, the type, like what, you know, every car needs fluid to move, whether it's oil, fuel.
Well, have you stuck with the same one?
Yeah.
Same, pretty much same stuff.
Yeah.
I think I run a Mobil 1 synthetic 0W30 for engine oil.
Yeah.
And that's just, I don't know what, I think we got that as a recommendation at one time from the engine builder.
Okay, so you haven't experimented a lot with other
I haven't experimented with it a lot.
Okay.
I don't do anything fancy. Radiator fluid, I run a Redline miscible oil. I don't run antifreeze. I just hate the thought of having a hose go and douse on an autocross course with slippery antifreeze.
So wait, with the oil you said you run the oil in the coolant?
Yeah, it's water wetter.
Okay.
So Redline makes a water wetter, and it's just
I use that.
It's a miscible or a dissolvable oil in water.
Can you clarify what that is for the listener as well as the Grant here?
It's just a formulator additive that you put in with plain water, and what it does is it helps lubricate your pump and seals and stuff like that, and it's supposed to help heat transfer.
Okay.
Water wetter, yeah, it does work. I use the same thing. I use the water wetter brand.
Yeah.
Tell us what the problem is, though, with that. If you don't,
what's the downside?
If you're like me and your car lives in a trailer and it lives over the winter in a
sub-zero
in a sub-zero temperature in a field, it likes to push freeze plugs out of the motor. So I got back to my car this year and found my driver's side freeze plug was no longer in the motor.
Yep.
Which started the whole pull the motor to replace the freeze plug to discover that my front cross member was cracked, to reorder and replace my K member, to motor.
I mean, it's probably a good thing that it actually happened because you wouldn't have seen it.
It was buried in there. The crack was buried. Pulling the motor is what got me to see the crack on the cross member.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So good things came out of it, but also frustrating.
Yeah. I got very lucky on that though with it freezing.
So you went out and bought a lottery ticket that day, right?
I
should have.
I should have.
Somebody won the $500 million lottery this week.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, other than that, I mean, like for power steering fluid, I just run high quality stuff like the Royal Purple.
Mm-hmm. Do you run ATF or do you run power steering fluid?
It's power steering fluid.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, when it comes to, because I've been blessed with the good stuff in my clutch and all that, I've just gone ahead and ponied up the money to Quartermaster to get their clutch fluid.
Oh, really?
Just because I know it's going to be compatible with all their O-rings and all their stuff inside. Mm-hmm. And so, and the same thing, I went to Willwood and I'm actually using the Willwood brake fluid.
I honestly think it's all made by the same company.
I think it is too.
I think,
well, then
and I'm not sure who it is. Then? Well, the Motul, see, it all comes in the exact same packaging with a different sticker.
Okay.
The Motul, the Willwood,
does the Willwood have the same temperatures as the Motul?
Yeah, I think
probably
it's the high temp stuff.
Okay.
What was the AP Racing also?
Yeah,
it comes in the exact same packaging, and they charge a lot more for it. I go with the Motul. It is expensive still.
Yeah,
but it's $660. Like, it's high temp stuff.
I really get rid of the brake fluid I used to use because before I switched to Motul, I was using an affordable high temp one, and I use affordable quotes.
In quotes, yeah.
Because I mean, there was still like $30 a quart or something like that versus Motul.
It's a pint.
It's
not even.
No, this was a quart.
It was it?
Yeah. Oh. And it was like still 600 degrees or something like that. But not
is
not
good.
660.
Yeah. I would do 660.
But like I'll have to find the brand because I'd heavily recommend that to someone getting into basic autocross who just wants a minor upgrade.
Yeah. I think it's worth that fluid is worth it. I mean, you do go through it if you're changing your fluids and stuff regularly.
Yeah. But like, for example,
breaking lines and stuff.
Like when I was doing Liger and doing a bunch of brake upgrades, it seemed like every season trying to figure out new things. I mean, Motul was getting super expensive when I was having to flush a system, like every couple months trying to figure out, okay, is it the ABS module? No. Is it the brake cylinders? And then because things would work and then things wouldn't work and then until it all got perfect.
Yeah.
That is one thing I've become religious about is when I do brakes. I as a kid, I'd say kid, younger in my days. Yeah. I always used to take and just push those pistons back in, and it would bubble back up into the reservoir, and all that gray, nasty stuff would come up with it.
Yeah. Change it out.
These days, I open the bleeder. Yeah, and
pump it through.
I push the pistons back in with the bleeder open. And that way I don't get all that junky fluid back up into the reservoir.
That's something.
And it's amazing. Now that I've done that, there's no more black in my reservoir.
Yeah, you just keep it clean.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's pretty important. Not only your brake reservoir, but your clutch reservoir.
I think those things are. I mean, it's funny because I don't know. In all the years I've done this, I've never had a problem. But it's because I've taken care of the stuff too.
Right.
You use good quality and you just watch it.
Yep.
Diligence.
What about electronics in your car? What do you have left in it? Because you've stripped a lot.
I think it's a wiring harness. I think it's a one-wire car.
I think it is too.
Yeah.
I don't think there's not a factory wire left in that car anywhere.
So then, what do you run for gauges wise for like?
Okay, for the listener, I have to describe the inside of Jason's car. There is not a stock panel. A stitch of even your dash.
It makes a NASCAR look luxurious.
It is nothing.
Yeah, it's not luxurious. Yep. It is full on race car, fully stripped, fully race seated. It's purpose built.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no AC, no radio.
Oh my gosh, no!
It doesn't have a heater.
No windshield wipers. Yeah, it does.
No
it's up in the
wipers?
front. That motor.
Yeah.
If you need heat.
I didn't know it had. So
it does not have. I said no windshield.
So
wipers.
what do you do then when it rains? Then
I drive fast.
Yeah.
And the rain just goes off.
That makes sense. Is there some clubs that don't allow you to race because of that?
I haven't run into any.
No.
Huh? I didn't know that. Like I figured, like SCCA or something like that. I say if it's raining, they would stop and be like, "No, this is safety."
I don't know.
No, it's rained pretty hard before, and once you get moving, you rain next to the windshield, it clears off pretty quick.
It does clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
The bigger problem, like Bert has a huge problem with the inside of his windshield fogging up. But he's getting some splash up off exhaust headers and stuff, and I think he's getting a lot of steam in the inside.
Well, and his is not a T-top. Yours is open.
Mine's open in the top. That helps.
Yeah. Doesn't hold that steam or heat or whatever's happening.
But in terms of electronics, because
so I run a TAC, and then I have a TAC in my kind of left line of sight, off to the right, kind of right below the hood. I've got a water temp and an oil pressure. That's it.
No fuel gauge, no speedometer.
No.
What about things for logging data at all? How does that work? Do you do that at all?
It's interesting. So many years ago, like back in the days I was doing open wheel, working with Wilson, I was doing data acquisition on open wheel cars. So we actually, for a while, I was running what was called a race log system on my car. And we had it set up, and I was running some old analog data logging system, which was really cool. But it was tough to analyze on the fly. Right now, I have a Solo Storm system. I'm relatively happy with what it does, as long as it does it conveniently.
Or consistently. That's the problem I have with it a little bit, is consistency can be sketch.
Yeah, and I'm old and crotchety enough now that if I show up at an autocross and I put my GoPro out, or I start to run the logging system, SolarStorm, and it doesn't work right, I shut them off. I'm not going to mess with it there. It's not where my mind is.
Yeah, it's not worth the time.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I doing with it anyway?
But if it works, it's great.
Yeah.
I did, while I've been going through this winter working on the car, some of the things I just did, I took the transponder for SolarStorm, and I actually hardwired it. It's direct plugged into a USB plug now. And I also mounted a tablet, but it's not in a spot that's going to work for me. And I'm going to hardwire it, and then I'm going to work on hardwiring a couple of GoPros.
Nice. Have you thought about putting the 360 GoPro and getting kind of the video game look from the back?
It's an option. I don't. Once again, I don't
he
mess
honestly
with it.
doesn't really care.
No.
I like some of the views. My favorite views of the car used to be when I'd shoot down the driver's side. I'd go behind the rear quarter panel, and I'd put the GoPro on there, and you'd see down the side of the car, and you could see how close you were getting to cones. After watching your video from the other weekend, Grant,
from the bumper,
from the underneath the bumper, I think I've got an extra old GoPro, and I think I'm actually going to mount it underneath my nose.
Nice.
In that same space, and start running dual GoPros.
I like running that one specifically because it's so low to the ground, you can see the speed that we're really going at.
Yeah.
Well, you can see how fast the cones go by.
Exactly.
And it's kind of
there was
cool
a good
view.
perspective.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like the one down the door because you can kind of see the driver angle and what you're doing with your hands and steering.
Yep, and you can see your if you set it up right and your rear view mirror is correct, you can actually see the driver's eyes.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Have
I
you
don't think
thought
I could
about
do that in my car, but
putting one down the passenger side to see how close you're getting to those cones?
yeah, honestly, right? 'Cause,
Yeah.
that's the cones that you're a little further away from, and you're kind of estimating where your car is. You really got to know your car.
I always did the driver's side because the GoPro picked up audio fairly well, and my exhaust outlet is on the left side there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
I like that SolarStorm. You can sync the two.
yes,
Your GoPro and
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't? Yeah. Yeah, you can sync them
A
up.
lot of my GoPro, because for the listener, I run at times sometimes 7 or 8 GoPros on my car,
Right.
just for action shots and whatnot, And a lot of the time, I actually switch the Wi-Fi off of those so I can't sync them up, which makes it more a pain in the ass to start, but it saves the battery life immensely.
It does.
Like you can go, instead of say like 15 minutes with one, to 2 hours, and then have it go.
I like Jason's idea, and I've done the same thing. I've run long cable into the car so I don't have to worry about battery life, and it's constantly charging.
Yeah.
Because honestly, keeping up with GoPro batteries is dumb.
I hate it.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
Yep, agreed.
I also tried to get a couple of years ago. I tried to buy one of those little lapel mics.
I bought one.
And I cannot get it to.
Really?
I'm too dumb.
I don't know. I bought one and then never used it. I stopped using the GoPros after.
I hooked it up and I got zero audio.
Oh, really?
Really?
And I got kind of frustrated. So I was going to play with that. I will in the next, I don't know, couple months or so.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to try and get that stuff working again.
Yeah. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
It is. And I've kind of hit a stagnant point, and I guess I need to start paying attention to what I'm doing a little bit more to see if I can start picking up a little more time.
No, well, that's, yeah. Honestly, that's what that stuff is good for.
Shaving
but it helps. Soulstorm is great if you have something to compare it to or someone to compare it to.
Right.
And I know that there's ways that you can do that, and there's a bunch of us that run Soulstorm, but for some reason we never compare with each other.
Well,
now, if you're dual driving a car like I used to be, it was great
helps.
because I could say, all right, I'm losing time here, I'm gaining time there, this is where I'm good, this is where I need to pick up. That's fantastic. You can actually make gains there. But if you're doing it on your own times, I mean, you can see where you were sloppy the run before or that run.
Yeah. Well,
and maybe that helps. I don't know.
Well, not only that, I was going to say, the one thing I was going to say is with Solo Storm, a lot of people will see the data. In my opinion, it's an actual skill to be able to look at that data and read how you can improve. Because there's times where we have a few people who really know. They look at it and they say, okay, no, I'm slow here. And not only do they see that, but then they could put that on the track.
Execute it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I
don't know. Yeah, I got pretty good at figuring it out. But it's really the comparison either from run to run or from your run to somebody else's to be able to look at that. I'm not
smart enough to do it, and I have often thought it would be kind of neat to do. And I don't know. Once again, you give this to a high school or a college kid who's smarter than I am,
savvy.
and boom, they could make it happen. But I often thought it would be fun to set up almost like a rolling cart that had a battery in it with a Wi-Fi router.
We actually tried that.
Really?
We're not smart enough to make it work.
For Solo Storm?
Well, no, for our entire...
Because my thought is if you had a Wi-Fi router sitting out there with just a hard drive on it.
Oh, so everybody could dump onto it?
Everybody comes in and can connect to their Wi-Fi, and you could share your runs from everybody between runs.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Make a big repository.
Yeah.
And, you'd have to get people that were willing to share their data.
There's a lot of people that would.
Yeah. And, if you don't want to, then don't. But at the same time, don't come use ours.
Right.
That's the thing for me is where do I, in a lower horsepower car, fighting against what I'm fighting against, where am I effective? And
momentum.
Yeah. And
I'm telling you right now, it's momentum with us.
We talk about that a lot of times. And the big sprint, when I see a lot of straightaways out of really tight corners, I just cringe because I know I'm doomed.
Yeah.
But if I see big sweepers and I see slaloms and I see a lot of busyness going on, I know I've got a chance.
Yeah.
It's just a matter I got to get through without hitting cones.
How much does your car weigh?
2,800.
2,800? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a difference.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know this, Jason. I weigh 4,000 with me in the car.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Well, if we're going with us in the car, I'm probably about 21 then.
Okay.
I'm sorry, not 21, 31.
We went down.
Yeah.
He's very buoyant.
But I will say this, you and me both know, being in cars that are quote unquote low horsepower comparative to the rest of the field.
Yeah.
It's our advantage is just keeping that speed up,
momentum and attack.
There are some courses I've ridden in courses that have been more tighter, like Miata courses, and that's when you have to have the mindset to change, be like, no, actually we have 300 horses, and in a tighter course you should be able to point and shoot at times.
Well, let's talk about last event then. Okay. So we had two starkly different courses from Saturday to Sunday. Saturday was a horsepower course. It was very fast. Bigger cars did much better. I mean, I know that you had a mechanical issue that you didn't even know was happening and really hampered you.
Totally questioning my existence and the justification.
Viper guy built that, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, absolutely. But I will stand by this. I am mad at the guy that built the Sunday course.
Why?
Because I could not go fast on it.
I like the Sunday course.
I know you did. It was great for you. It was great for you. And that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, it was
you built it.
I built it.
You're mad at yourself.
Yeah, it was dumb.
I put input, but no, Rob built it. And I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, what about this?
Yeah. So
getting back to, we talked about this. Rob had given me the opportunity to drive his car a couple times once, and it was funny because I had somebody riding with me last time I was up there, and their comment, and I hadn't thought about this, was they're like, "You attack so hard. You come into the corner and you stab the brakes really hard." And I'm thinking about it. I'm like, well, I don't have ABS. I don't have any traction control. So really what I have to do is I have to attack really hard and stab the brakes to set and weight transfer the car so that I can get the car to turn. And I think about that, and that's how I've always driven that car.
Yeah.
Attack it, get the back end a little bit light, and when the back end gets a little bit light, apply a little bit of power. You can get control. Yep. Well, here I hop into Rob's Z06. I've never driven the car before, and I come dicing up the course. I'm probably doing 70 in that one section, and it's a sprint right before a left-hander to cross over the entire runway. And I come flying up to that thing, and I stab the brakes, and I go to initiate the turn, and that back end just came right around on me.
It was a long slide.
It was brutal, and I was doing my best to stay off the brakes and keep all the tires turning.
Well, there's some flat spots.
Yeah, well, that was it.
All right.
No. And I felt bad, but at the same time, I had Joe riding with me.
I figured out where the limits are.
I had Joe riding with me, and I came back, and Joe got out of the car and was gone in a heartbeat. And then I pulled right back up to the line, and I was like, Rob, get in here. And it's like, I felt bad because it's like, I don't want to be an idiot going out driving Rob's car and just thrashing out like that. That's not who I am. But I wanted to prove to Rob that it's like, hey, I'm sorry, this thing just got away from me once, kind of thing.
Honestly, was that last year?
I think
early.
It was early last year. Yeah.
The car was not handling that well last year. It got away from me a lot. I mean, there were times that it got away from me, and I just pinned the throttle. I'm just like, okay, we're going for a ride. I'm taking this thing all the way around. Because it was, I did a lot of work in the first 3 events trying to get the car under control because it wanted to step out a lot, and it wasn't. I got it, but it took a while.
Sure.
So to be fair, when you were driving it, it was not behaving.
Well, it behaved better when I had you with me.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, you were a little more tentative. At that point.
But it sure was a fun car to drive.
Yeah. No, it is.
No complaints there.
I enjoy it a lot. With all the racing that you've done over time, working on the cars a lot, does it ever get old? Do you ever get tired of it?
That's a good question.
That's a lot of years. Does it go
in ebb and flow?
It ebb and flows.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I'm not that old, but I feel old and I'm lazy and whatever. But
no, you can't be as old as me. I have no hair.
There are days standing out there course working. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's most of the time it's worth it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just,
I mean, you keep showing up, so it must be, there must be something.
There's something there.
Yeah.
I love it. And like I tell people, people don't understand what autocrossing is sometimes. You try to explain it. I had somebody trying to explain it the other day. And
I know it.
And I said, the best thing I can tell somebody is after 20 some odd years of doing this, I'm like, it is the only thing that I know of that I can hop into a car and take a 50-second run and come back with the adrenaline shakes.
Yeah. Honestly, I had the adrenaline shakes last event. Probably after the first 3 runs, I was still shaking.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It was incredible.
I put a heart rate monitor on myself a couple years back, and it was terrifying.
Yeah.
And I was working out at the time, and so I'd work out. And I could get my heart rate up to around, I'd peak at like 160. I wasn't sustainable up there.
Yeah.
But I'd hit 160, 162, somewhere like that while I'm working out. And then I'd recover pretty quickly. Within a few minutes, if I stopped working out, I'd be back down sub 190. And so I was down in Roseburg, and I put my heart rate monitor on. And I went and I took an autocross run.
Yeah.
And I came in from that run, and I had been up at 164 beats per minute during the run.
Yeah.
And my heart rate was stuck above 120 beats per minute for the next, 5 minutes until I took my next run.
That adrenaline.
Yeah. And then it ramped right back up.
Yeah. Oh,
that's
it was
when
right back up.
You got a good run. Is when the shakes
I love that.
Don't disappear for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a good feeling.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's always that something that brings you back, right? It's addictive. Adrenaline is very addictive. And this is kind of the way we find it now. I mean, I raced dirt bikes for years and years and years. And this by no means is a replacement for that. I will not say that.
Sure.
But it's the same type of thrill, adrenaline. It doesn't last as long. I think that's a lot of why I like time trial, road course stuff, because you're out there for a good 20-minute session.
Sure.
And that's a blast. You're extending that high, and you get that feeling of the speed, the adrenaline, the rush of all of that.
And as weird as it is, and thinking about it, I go back to the days of supporting open wheel stuff and doing that. And as much as I love autocrossing and all that, if I had the opportunity to go back and do what I was doing with open wheels, I'd stop. I'd do it right now.
Yeah. And that, I mean, you weren't even driving. That was support.
I was not, no.
You were support.
I never even lowered my butt down into one of those cars because I was afraid I'd never get back out.
Yeah. But it's such a rush. It's so, I don't know, it's something about it. It's
supporting the people.
Yeah.
Everybody we worked with generally were really good people. Young drivers coming up who were fearless,
Knew how to push the car. Yeah.
And, it was other people's money.
Well, that too. I mean,
yeah.
So,
you're there to use that equipment. That is the whole point of being there. And that's something I learned early on in my racing career was I had to get over the fear of breaking the equipment. I had to tell myself, it is built for this. Use it hard. That's what it's there for. And once you get through that as a racer, you'll be so much better.
Zero mechanical forgiveness.
Yeah. No, you have to realize that, okay, if it breaks, whatever.
We'll fix it.
Should you still have that mindset, though, if it's your daily?
We already went over this.
Yeah. But
we did. That's a different discussion. We did go over that. And no, I think you have to be a little more mindful.
Okay.
But if you're trying to win, you need to send it.
Yes. If you're going to be a competitor, you have to send it.
There's no holding back.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I get a lot of flack about hitting cones and stuff like that, but at the same time,
you haven't beaten my record yet.
I know. Thankfully. But and I feel bad at times. I don't want to hit cones.
Right. That's not the object.
But at the same time, like we said, I'm playing with sub 400 horsepower, and I've got to throw it at everything I can.
Trying to make it as straight line as possible.
Yeah, and it's like I know that there are days that I can't get through the course without hitting a cone on every one of my runs. But at the same time, it's like there was obviously a tight area on that course that I was doing everything I could to throw the car as hard as I could through it, and I just was missing by a little bit or something.
That was that last Sunday course I was pissed off at. That one freaking cone. One tight spot that I couldn't get through.
Yeah.
So
it's like I built it for a Miata or something.
Who did really well.
Jason, you were saying that like one of the biggest things like with open wheel was the people and stuff.
Yeah.
So here's a question to ask you. So with your years of going through Autocross, you've been with different clubs and multiple groups, correct?
Yeah.
So like, has there been like, I guess without simplifying too much, like an ebb and flow with like people that have been in the group and been really involved and then disappear, or like groups that have been really like been a staple of like Autocross and then they've like disappeared or gone to different groups? Like, how has the community changed throughout the years?
It's interesting. So most of my involvement, except for the past probably 5 or 6 years, has been with the Eugene Club. It's what I consider my home club. It's Bert and all those guys.
EESC. Let's
EESC
for the listener. Yeah. Emerald Empire Sports Car Club. There you go.
That's been what I've considered my home club, and it's where I cut my teeth. It's everybody I've been around. But this whole ebb and flow, it seems to me like it's the same people. I've been. Yeah. It feels like I've been autocrossing with the same people in Eugene for 20 years.
You probably have.
And some of them I have.
I think that group has been really stable, and that's pretty awesome. I've seen a lot of changes just in the 7 years I've been doing it. 6 years I've been doing it for the Corvette Club. I've seen a lot of people come and go. Yeah. But I think that happens. You get enough young blood into helping and building and operating the club. Those people are going to stick around longer. They're going to have a longer run. Of course, you're going to gain some and lose some here and there, but your club, it seems like the Eugene club, they started out all of you kind of in the same era, right? Your same generation.
Yeah.
So you're all still just after it.
Yeah.
Yeah, still doing it.
And I mean, Bert and I battle out all the time, and I think Bert started autocross only like a couple years before I did.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So, I've been duking it out with Bert for 26 years.
Yeah. And it's still back and forth.
And it's still back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's, he's beaten up on me pretty good lately.
He can throw down a time out of nowhere. It just like, where did that come from? Yeah. Yep.
I'll tell you this is a humorous story with driving his car. So we went down to what's considered the icebreaker event for Eugene, which is held early in the year. And I get down there and I have a mechanical problem with my car. And engines come out, cross members come out, all this kind of stuff. I haven't run it, haven't gotten a chance to shake anything down. Take my first run, come in, a little bit of smoke coming from under the hood. I figure it's me. I've just touched a bunch of stuff that's burning off.
Yeah.
Second run comes in, a lot of smoke coming up from under the hood.
Whoa.
Turns out I have a power steering fluid or high pressure power steering pump fitting that's gone bad.
Oh, you don't need the power steering to drive the car.
No, piece of cake. Mm-hmm. So we decided to shut it down. Well, Bert offers up, puts me in his car. Okay, great. So I go hop over into Bert's car. Well, I'm a little chubbier than Bert is, and Bert's seat doesn't move. And Bert has a 5-point harness, and it's got a round dial on the center for all the harness buckle release. Mm-hmm. And so I'm struggling, and I'm shoving fat into corners and things like that. I'm tucking myself into his seat. I'm up to the point where I can drive. My knees are almost up to the back of the steering wheel. I mean, it's not comfortable. I go and I turn the corner to pull up to our starting grid or our start line, and as I've turned the corner, I feel all the buckles just release.
Oh, well, I'm done.
And I'm like, what? Yeah. And so I realized that my belly sticks out considerably further than Bert's, which put that round dial at the bottom of his steering wheel. So every time I'd turn the steering wheel, it would release the lap belt and all the harnesses. And I figured that out, and I got it all back together, and I told the starter. He was laughing at me, and I take off for the run, and I'm like, okay, if I'm just cognizant of it, I'll be okay. 2 turns in, boom, everything's loose.
Oh, wow.
And there
I guess I'm slowing down.
and throwing Bert's car around, just sitting in the seat, no buckles.
Yeah, you're pretty wedged in there.
Yeah, I wasn't going anywhere, but my knee came back a little bit scuffed up and hurting from bracing on stuff, and Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I do like how both of you guys will swap cars if one has a mechanical. You're just like, all right, drive mine. It's cool. Yeah. For the listener, Bert also drives a Camaro. Do you know what yours is?
83.
83. Okay. Yeah.
And then Nick's, I think, is an 85 also.
Haven't seen Nick in a while.
No. Nick's been doing family stuff.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yep.
He's down in Eugene. We get him down there every once in a while.
Yeah.
It was just for him, the tow up to Shelton was getting expensive.
It's a long haul from Eugene. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm impressed with the guys that make that trip.
Yeah.
I'm glad they do.
It's glad they do.
Yep. Cool.
But,
did that, Grant, kind of answer your question about over the years and that kind of stuff?
What was the question?
Kind of. At least for this, it sounds like for the specific group.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've seen a lot. I mean, honestly, 20 years of racing is a long time. Yeah. You've seen a lot of innovation come and go, too. I mean, Grant, you had said something earlier about tires.
Yeah,
and that kind of stuff.
That was one thing I was going to ask. We've talked about that. Every, I wouldn't say season, but there's always a good tire that comes out in racing that just takes over. Right now, it's the AO52, so amazing tires. Before this, everyone talked about the RE71s. When you're autocross racing throughout, the years and decades, what really stood out in those eras? Let's just say for tires, and then expand that more for what cars really took over and said wow, that's the best thing. Like the BRZs or the Miatas when they came out,
When I first started, the big tire was the Kumo. And I'll never forget going up to National Tour in Washington, and it was held out at, was it at Boeing or Bremerton? I forget.
Oh, okay.
But they had, forget the Kumo rep that was there, But they had a banquet at night, and we all bought into the banquet. And I think by the end of the night, the guy had given away like 5 or 7 sets of tires.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
wow.
But that was the big days of the Kumos, and those were fun tires at their time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Kumos have kind of stood the test of time, but they've outlawed those in certain.
Did they?
Well, because they don't. It's a sizing thing and classing. Like if you can't buy it for stock size, there's some issues with that.
I know. I was actually looking at Kumos for Liger. I think it was a different thing. They were stopping.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they've changed since they originally came out. That kind of stuff.
I've never stayed on the cutting edge of tires stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I did the Kumos for years, and then we transitioned on to bias plies.
Yeah.
And I was running Hoosier and Goodyear bias plies, and man, those are a lot of fun to drive on.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
I've never driven on them.
There is absolute stick and bite with my car right now. With the bias plies, you were always catching the car.
Oh yeah.
But it was so catchable, and it was so positionable.
Really?
Yeah, you could pick and choose what you wanted to do with that car.
It was really predictable.
Yeah, it was forgiving.
Is that something like tires nowadays don't have anymore?
Well, it's interesting because then when I went on to these A7s, you know, I start looking at these A7s and man, they're stiff, and it takes a different driving style. So the A7s, I have to be much more straight line in my braking and things like that. Where the bias plies, I could come into a corner and I could pitch the car into the corner knowing I was going to throw it sideways and let it kind of hop a couple times and step into it and catch it.
Wow.
You can't do that on an A7.
No, it's going to slide the whole way.
If you can catch it too.
Yeah, I've only driven an A7 once with David's car, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not used to driving on slicks. That's been another thing we've talked about in the past.
It was when I started with the A7s, it was in my Nissan, and it was a different feel for sure. I was like, oh, wow, that is really different, you know, because I think I was on R888s before that. Certainly got used to them quick.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you like that traction for sure. And shoot, I think I've driven more on the A7s than I have on street tires. I've used the AL52s. Those are fantastic. They're like driving a Hoosier, honestly.
Okay.
But do they wear so fast?
Well, they do wear fast, but honestly, I feel like we're getting good wear out of those tires. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think they're pretty good.
It's depressing.
A little bit on the BFGs. I've run the R888s, the RE71 RSs. There's some good options out there. And it's for sure classing. You know, you got to pay attention to what class you're in. If you're running time only, you can run the Hoosiers, or if you're XP or whatever it is.
I always like when people that aren't familiar with the autocross stuff, you know, like I had somebody in my garage the other day asking me some questions about, and there's a stack of tires sitting there. Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, those are big. And I'm like, yeah, well, how long do those last?
Yeah.
And my favorite thing right now is I'm looking at them, I'm like, about 100 minutes.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
And they're like, what? And you're like, yeah, well, I'll get about 100 runs out of a brand new set of tires, and they're about 60 seconds a run.
Yep.
And I'm like, and then they're gone.
Yep. About 100 minutes. That's a great way to look at it. It's also very depressing.
Yeah. We did a thing when my dad was running, and it's much higher now, but we'd hit a point many years ago where I explained to my dad, I said, every time you pull this car up to the line and you launch, whether you have a successful run or not, you're basically taking the $30 bill and burning it.
Yep.
And, you know, it puts things in perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
This isn't free.
Yeah, I don't really want to think about that right now.
No.
Those damn tires.
My dad would log every expense and everything we did and all this, and I ended up he handed it, well, when he passed away, I got it all. Yeah. But I don't even want to look at it.
No, you don't want to know how much you spent over the years doing this.
Right. And
it takes the fun out of it.
And it's just one of those things that's come to the point of, look, I can afford to do this.
Yep.
And I'm going to stay within my affordability and my bounds. I'm not going to pay attention to what it costs.
Yeah.
And if I can't afford it anymore, or it's starting to get uncomfortable, I'll back down some.
Yep.
You know?
Agreed. I think anybody in motorsport has to take that into account.
Yeah.
Are you still enjoying it? Because if you're not,
is it worth it? Yeah.
not worth it. That's a big expense.
It is sad, and I feel for them because I know it is a difficult thing to do. But like with Eugene Club, sites are so difficult to find.
They really are.
And if it was, and I say this is being appreciative and thankful. If it had not been for getting hooked up with the Viper and Corvette clubs and running in Shelton, I don't know how much I'd be running anymore.
Right.
Just because it's so different up there.
Yeah. Well, I'm concerned about our site. It's getting beat up more. We've just recently had a club go up there and really actually tear it up.
That was pretty sad seeing all those photos.
It's very sad to see that because that is going to affect everybody else that takes care of it as best we can.
And that's not just our club. That's every club.
Yeah,
any event that takes care uses it.
Yep. And so that's a bummer. I don't know what we're going to do if that site goes away.
I got a couple ideas.
Well,
that's for a different time.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, kind of another topic. But it can be rough finding a good place to run.
It is. Yeah,
the sites are pretty small. Some of the other venues that run, and that's kind of why I don't run with those. I'm disappointed in myself. I haven't run as much as I've wanted to this year already. Yeah. But that's the way it goes, I guess.
Well, I mean, Eugene, a few years ago, they found a great site down in like Goshen or Cresswell.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And it was just south of Eugene.
Okay.
And we'd run out there, but then some lady up the road a couple miles away from where they were running
at the HOA named Karen.
Yeah, and she was complaining that her chickens stopped laying eggs for 2 days after they'd autocross for a weekend. And that's what actually got them. They
give her the $10 bill and still pay for 2 dozen eggs.
Prove to me that's what it was. Right. Prove that.
But it's just it's getting tough.
It is.
And it's like I'll be in Shelton next weekend. I'll be in Hoodoo the weekend after that, or up running at Hoodoo. But man, Hoodoo's a rough one too. Hoodoo will have a pass. Ski resorts are
pretty gravelly.
Yeah,
gravelly, beautiful places to run. I love being up in the mountains like that and the air and all that. I hate the mosquitoes.
Yeah.
But it's getting hard to find places that people aren't complaining.
Yeah,
it really is. Well, that's motorsport in general, but I guess we just keep going until we can't.
Until we can't.
Yeah.
And I don't know what we'll do after that.
All this stuff.
Do it illegally.
Circling back, I was saying, so on top of tires, though, Jason, because the other part of the question I was going to ask was, what about just cars in general throughout the years? Like, has there been stuff like in this span of 1992 to 94, this was the most dominant car, no one could beat it, and then this 96 to 2000 couldn't beat the Supra. I don't know, I'm just giving examples.
Yeah Man, I never really think about it in levels like that. I know for a while, what was that generation of RX-7 that was the
FD?
I don't know.
Is the round body or edgy
more
body?
roundy?
FD initial D.
Yeah.
FD.
Yeah. So I want to say, is that 92-ish or somewhere?
93, maybe.
Yeah, I know those were pretty dominant for a while in that era. Yeah. But it's been amazing to watch it change. The BRZs and the FRSs or whatever were huge.
They kind of came in hard.
They came in really hard, and everybody went really hard at them.
Yeah. Same with the WRX.
Yeah.
And
I've never understood that, and it's maybe just a different financial way that I was raised or whatever, but I look at people that show up every few years with a new car to autocross, and it's like, for me, I don't know if I'd be figuring that car out in a couple of years. To get it out, to change it.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. And I don't know that those people really are in it for that. No. I don't think they care to figure it out.
They're just in for the new experience.
Pretty much. Yeah. They're like, I'm going to race this car a couple of years and trade it in. They're probably, they might be leases or who knows, or they're into making, it could be a daily.
Yeah, you got to take it back to the rental company and just get a new one from Hertz.
Making payments on it forever, and they're just continually paying on another car.
Yeah.
But maybe they're just in it for the new experience.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one that sticks out to me. I think the flood of the BRZs and all that, that happened. You know, it just, I don't know. They came in really quick.
They did.
It was like, boom, here they are.
It's
and
a
they're
decent
quick.
little car too.
They are, yeah.
They're decent, yeah. I mean, everybody has kind of found where the flaws are, where the fragility is, whether it's transmission or rear end, and some of them are pretty decent. And
yeah, and on the similar question, here's another one. I've got a bazillion questions, but this is a big one. Because we had the recession in 90 and we also had the recession in 2008. Did that change what cars are coming out and people actually racing then too?
I would, just shooting from the hip here.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
No, I wasn't around.
Yeah.
You were,
I wasn't autocrossing at that.
Yeah.
I was moto racing, but I would think it would probably thin it out a little bit. You know, people aren't going to trade that car in as quick with the recession.
Did you notice anything during then, Jason?
I don't know. I mean, it's weird for me because I look back at the people that Chuck Spittle still shows up in the same Corvette. I remember racing with him.
Yep, still does.
You know, and so it's like there are those people out there that I look at that have held on to the same thing. There's people that it's like they're showing up in a new car every couple of years.
Yeah.
But I didn't really, because I've been in a single dedicated car in CP where we're just dumb and we throw horsepower and rubber at stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't paid much attention to what
everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
You just run your class and you're happy with it.
Yeah. We want to go smell some good fuel and, you know, burn some rubber.
No, I get it. I feel like that's why not? So I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. I know Grant could probably go on.
Oh, I could go on, but switching gears.
How many project cars do you have?
Right now?
Yep.
I guess the race car counts, huh?
Sure. Yep.
2.
Yep.
So
that's the other one.
I got the autocross car, and then I've got a 56 Chevy pickup.
Ooh.
That I bought when I was 14.
That's the part I love about that. That's the part.
Fleet side or
step side?
Step side.
Yeah. I bought it for $700.
God, that's awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't even drive.
14.
At 14.
Yeah.
But it came up on auction. It used to be a school district vehicle for the school where my dad worked.
Oh, okay.
And it went to auction. Some guys, I think from down south, were bidding on it. And when they saw this little, 14-year-old kid running up to his dad begging for a little more money,
they quit.
They basically backed out and,
They're like,
let me get it.
That is really cool.
That's so cool.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
That's awesome. That is such a beautiful. We just brought it up on the screen.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful body style.
That
even the light blue one with the white cab.
So the one
I've seen the truck. It is
the orange one in the top row. The blue one directly below that is probably the closest to mine.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right in the middle.
Yeah.
Right in the middle. Yep.
So I bought that when I was 14. I drove it through high school.
Yeah.
And it had the straight 6 in it and the 3 on the tree, that old thing.
Yeah.
Do you still know how to drive a 3 on the tree?
No.
Okay.
I'm sure I could figure it out.
I've never driven one with the shifter on the tree. It seems weird.
I've heard about it, never had it, but all the old timers always talk about that.
Right.
It's a 3-point part shift. It's a
Okay.
It's like using the Prindle, but dancing back and forth.
Yeah. But yeah, I drove it through high school. I went away to college and spent my first year in college, and I came back for the summer. And it turns out that this guy in Cottage Grove, where I grew up, had a 56 Chevy frame that he was working on a project truck, and he had grafted a 72 Nova clip on the front.
Oh, wow.
So I bought the whole shooting match for $150, which was probably about $150 too much.
Yeah.
It ended up having to go out and have some rework done to get the frame grafted right and all this kind of stuff. But I still have it. I'd driven it for a few years. It's going through some modifications right now. Mm-hmm. And it has been off the road for a while after a unfortunate incident that scared the living daylights out of me. I had drum brakes all the way around, and I had them go belly up on me on a downhill.
Yeah.
And I was, the truck was moving at walking speed, and I was standing with both feet on the brake, pushing as hard as I could, and I could not get stopped. So that scared me.
Yeah, for sure.
At which point in time I was like, okay, brake upgrade. And then brake upgrade. Well, I had to put a booster on the firewall, and there's all these electronics on the firewall. 56, I think, is the year that there's a mishmash of 12 and 6 volt systems on the car, on the truck.
Yeah.
And so there were all these transformers up where that booster had to go, and I didn't know what to do with them, and they're not labeled well, and I don't know what they do. So the logical thought was, let's just get a whole new wiring harness.
And down the rabbit hole you went.
Let's get rid of the 6 volt shit.
Yeah.
100%.
So then the harness starts, and then it's like, well, if I'm going to run this new harness, I'm like, I don't want to run my fuel sensors to the tank behind the seat in the cab. Let's put the tank in the back behind the rear end. So I started doing that, and then that's like, well, I've got the bed off. I'm like, I've always wanted to do a suspension on this. So suddenly all the leaf springs got cut off, and we're doing a 4-link on it right now.
Yep.
And then the exhaust got going, and I got myself in over my head.
And eventually put a V12 in the front.
No.
It's such a project car thing
Such
to
a
do.
project
We've
car
talked
thing
about
to
this
do.
before.
Yeah.
You just get down that rabbit hole and you're like, ooh, well, let's do this. Well, I'm here. I might as well do this.
Yeah. Do this too.
It's already off.
Yeah.
What motor is in it now?
So it's a 350 out of an 87 Chevy Silverado.
Okay.
Non-modified. Mm-hmm. So it came out of the Silverado. Somebody put a hot rod motor in it and was running well at the time it came out.
Yeah.
Seems to run well.
Yeah.
It's got a Turbo Hydromatic 400 in it that my friend Russ built, and he told me if I ever break it, he guarantees it. Well, he says it won't. If I ever break it, bring it back to him. He doesn't work as a transmission guy anymore.
Yeah.
But he told
Show
me
up
I
on his
couldn't
front
break
door.
it. Yeah. I could. He'd
guess
fix
what?
it. If that was the issue.
Hey, remember when?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So is that carbureted or?
Yeah, carbureted.
Okay. Yeah, still carbureted.
So my one thing I'm looking and trying to figure out how to do right now, and it's part of the project that went on with the rabbit hole, is it used to have because I want to put a gas tank behind the rear axle. That means the exhaust pipes that run over the rear axle and dump out the back were in the way. So maybe it's time to get rid of the ram horn style exhaust manifolds off the motor and put some real headers on it.
Okay.
So the next thing you know, I've got a full set of full tube length headers on it that are 3-inch collectors.
Yeah.
For a mild motor that doesn't make any power. So now I'm going to basically go from 3-inch collectors to a 3-inch X pipe, and then I'll go do dual 3-inch exhaust on the thing. And I'm like, I'm thinking the dual 3-inch may be a little overkill.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think I'm going to put a shutoff on one of the sides. The vision in my head, if I can figure out how to do it, is I want to use like a boom tube like they use for NASCARs with a flat.
Yeah, the big flat square
exhaust.
boxy. Yeah, exactly.
And I want that exhaust to come out underneath the step behind the cab. Well, I realized if I pull up to a fast food restaurant and I'm trying to order, I'm going to have that thing just whapping at the speaker box. So why not put an exhaust valve in there that shuts off the driver's side? And at 3-inch exhaust, I can run a single 3-inch exhaust, no problem, and just push it all out the passenger side.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about trying to get an exhaust system set up on there so you can shut one side or another side off. If you're cruising down the freeway for a long period of time, you don't want to listen to the drone out the driver's side, you can just shut that side off. We'll see.
Yep.
But
That'd be very interesting.
all just projects.
How's the interior of the truck?
Well, that was part of the projects that came on too.
Was it one of the early projects?
Recently, I just had basic carpet and stuff in it. I had done it myself in high school. I watch Craigslist a lot. I need to be banned from Craigslist because
that's why Facebook Marketplace exists now.
I know.
Right. It's just as bad.
But I ended up finding this guy on Craigslist that had an entire interior for that generation of truck. And so I talked to the guy. It was like $350, and I went, and it had dual bucket power seats, and it had a center console. And so I started talking to this guy. I'm like, where is this coming from? What's going on? It was kind of weird. And he explains to me, he's like, well, I've got this buddy down in LA area that does truck customization. And he says all these show trucks that go out and do the show circuit, he says they have to update their interiors every 3 to 4 years to stay with the newer trends.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
And so his buddy basically pulls out the old interiors and puts new interiors in, and then he truck ships the old interior parts up to here, and just told the guy to guarantee not to sell them into the market that he's working.
Oh, wow.
And so I ended up getting these beautiful seats center console for the interior. When I did all the work this time, I got new carpet kit and everything in it. When I did all the work this time, I went nuts on the Dynamat, and I dynamated every inch of the interior of that.
Yeah, quieted it all down.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it'll help.
I haven't heard it run since. So,
well, yeah.
You know, it's silent right now.
How far out do you think you are from actually running that truck?
I don't know. I think I'm at a point right now where I've got to get somebody who can come up and can weld my rear end up so I can get it movable.
This guy.
Yeah, we may talk.
Okay.
And once I do that, I think what I'm going to do is probably talk. I talked to a shop that sells old trucks like this and old vehicles, and they've got a couple like people that work on those things for them. And I think I'm just going to take some money and basically find a shop and say, hey,
finish it.
This is where I'm at. This is what I've done.
Yeah.
This is my vision. Help me get it over the line because I just want to start driving it.
Yeah.
You know,
interesting.
Yeah. I've always had a dream in my head, and I'm not big into cigars as much anymore. But I've always liked them. I've always dreamed of cruising down the freeway with a cigar and that thing. You know, because I'm not going to care inside that interior. It's fine.
Yeah.
And it'll just be my runaround. Have a good time.
Yeah. Do you feel like for a project car or project car guy, that's the hardest part? You get it to a point and you stall. Well, I think we kind of talked about this last week. The stall out and getting it over the finish line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're always
because burnout's real.
Burnout is real.
And I'm one of these people. All my life, I can't see anything but the mistakes.
Man, I don't think you're alone in that.
I know. There's a lot of people that way, but the problem to me to getting something done is that maybe there's a 10-minute task that gets it 100% done, but then I get distracted with a 2-hour task that fixes something that bothers me.
Yeah.
And that's why I think I need to basically just
give it to somebody and say,
look,
help me fix it. Help me finish it.
Yeah, get to the point where it runs.
Interesting.
Yeah. Huh. But I do want to. My goal with that truck, the frame. Holy mackerel! Those frames from 1956 are wet noodles.
Yeah,
they're terrible.
Yeah,
really.
They're terrible. Oh. Yeah, but if the budget allowed for me, and I've been cognizant with the way that I've built the truck and done things, I've often eyeballed like an Art Morrison chassis. And they're expensive.
They're very expensive.
But they're built well, right?
Well. Yeah, but they're built very well. Okay. But at the same time, the way I've built my entire truck and all the wiring I've done and everything, I can literally just pick my entire truck up and slide the frame out from underneath and drop it on a new one.
Yeah. Yeah. So something to be said for that.
Yeah.
Rather than having that one modified and stiffened and boxed in and the whole thing.
It'd be an uphill battle.
They'll sell you completely boxed in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a totally new frame. Yeah. Not even no stitch of original in it. Yeah. I mean, they're $10,000 at the low end.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But they'll handle.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll handle the power. They'll handle the handling and all that. Yeah.
They used to be one of my customers.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, when I worked at the machine shop in Auburn.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. I would love to have that old truck just be. You know, for me, something comfortable to cruise around, but at the same time, I'd love for it to be a bit of a sleeper.
Yeah.
Like,
fun.
Yeah, I'll take you down at any time.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. The 67, that'll be a sleeper. Yeah. Until you punch it.
Yeah.
So, another question about building cars and motors and that kind of stuff. What is your motor-wise preference? Naturally aspirated, turbocharged, supercharged. Where do you lie?
Where do I lie on that?
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting, and I've been thinking about how to approach that question and where that discussion point is. And what's really funny is I think my preference is naturally aspirated.
Yeah.
But I think part of the problem with that is I don't have enough background. I can honestly say I don't know that I've ever driven a supercharged car.
Okay.
Like even as a rental or anything?
Yeah. Not that I'm aware of.
C7 Z06?
Yeah, I've never driven one.
Yeah.
Turbo cars.
Yeah.
I mean, my daily driver is a 4-cylinder turbo.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the first turbo car I've really had exposure to. Everything I've ever done is naturally aspirated.
Okay.
I do notice in the turbo, I like driving the turbo. There's some things about it I really like. I don't like having to predict the turbo lag. Work against it.
Yep.
You can even have naturally aspirated engines now that have turbo lag. Like with the variable valve timing.
Well, and I found like when I went up and autocrossed my daily the one time, you know, it's a half, 3/4 of a second before you actually be really intending to apply the gas.
Before you're ready for it.
But, well, you start applying the gas. Even though you're not accelerating, you start applying the gas to get the turbo spooled.
Right.
So that it's there when you want it to go. And I didn't like having to think
that far ahead.
Yeah.
And Grant, that's what I was telling you about your car is like when you come out of those turnarounds, get in the gas early.
Yeah.
You have to anticipate that, okay, my car's got lag.
Yeah.
It's going to lag at least a second, maybe 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So I need to apply that throttle earlier than I actually want it to hit.
So just so you're up to speed, Jason. So with my car, the variable valve timing really makes my car really sluggish to the point where like that's why I'm always shifting down corners to first gear, because as Rob can attest to, it is if it's below 2500 2200 RPM, you might as well be walking. You know.
It does not like it.
Yeah.
That sounds more cam related than the variable valve timing.
It's I don't know how to put it. It's definitely like once it's above that, that's when like the profile changes and you get more of an aggressive cam because it takes the timing of it and goes back. People have put on like phase lockers to lock it out, but then you also lose fuel economy and you lose like the low end. Because like it'll launch off like from like a dead stop. It'll start going up like from like 500 or 600 RPM to 1500 RPM. You get a really good surge power. Then it bogs off, and then you start gaining power after that.
1500 RPM. That's cute.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't know things worked down there.
Yeah,
not very well. Not very quickly. Not very quickly.
But
yeah, I'm along those same lines. I am naturally aspirated.
Same here.
I really like that. I don't like dealing with turbos. I've driven the C7 Z06. It's plenty fast.
Yeah.
I don't think there's not the lag that you deal with the turbo and that kind of stuff. And I haven't driven it enough really to yay or nay it. Maybe it's fine. I hear about the other issues they have with that heat soak and that kind of stuff. If you're doing big track, you don't want to deal with that. All the intercoolers and that kind of stuff, there's just more susceptible to damage and this and that. Not that I wouldn't take one. Not saying that. Not saying that at all. Just, I guess I lean more towards the naturally aspirated. I just like that.
Yeah.
What about you, Jeremy?
I've driven a lot of 4-cylinder cars.
Turbo?
With both
turbos?
With both NA and turbo.
Yeah.
I like the turbo.
I think for a 4-cylinder car, you really have to build it differently if it's not turboed.
It's got to be a really high revving engine.
Something.
They are higher revving, but the thing I like about the turbo is, you do have the lag in the bottom end, but as soon as you hit that 3,000, 3,500 RPM and it starts to hit,
it starts to kick.
It jumps from 3,500 to 7,500 like that.
Yeah. Actually,
I do have to say, on my Caddy that I drive, it's a 4-cylinder turbo, and what's amazing to me is 8-speed paddle shifted automatic. I run at like 2,200 RPM all the time in that car, no matter where you're at. But when you really get into it, it'll start to open up, and you get those revs up there. It kicks up and goes. But I think the big advantage to new generation cars right now are these 8-speed plus transmissions.
Yeah.
Back in the day it was a 3 or 4-speed.
For sure.
And,
you have the gearing working for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Big difference, which leads right into transmissions that I wanted to ask about. What do you got? Standard manual transmissions.
Yep.
You've got transaxle, which is still manual transmission, versus mid-engine, along with paddle shifting, automatics. Honestly, the automatics now, you can't outshift that car. No. In the sport car realm,
Yeah.
you're not going to shift it better than the car is programmed to do.
Yeah.
What's your preference? What do you think?
Once again, it's what I drive.
Yeah.
You know,
it's kind of difficult. That's a difficult question. I get that.
Yeah. I was impressed. I had a Volkswagen that had the dual shift transmission in it, the DSG or whatever that is. And it wasn't until I went in and looked at how that worked that I got really fascinated with those.
Yeah.
And new transmission technology is amazing because
It really is.
yeah, that DSG, it's got dual clutches in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it either one clutch is engaged or one, and the other one is freewheeling or vice versa. But it's like one clutch lever that moves forward and backward, and the clutch is on one side or the other.
Wow.
So it just engages one clutch or the other, and then it's annular shafts down the middle that spin even or odd gear sets.
Wow.
And so you're already pre-selected in it. I think that stuff is pretty amazing.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's the future, honestly. I mean, everything is going to go that route. You will be hard-pressed to find a true manual H pattern.
Well, and I think we're going to get more and more towards kind of CVT stuff now. I know.
Yeah.
So
it's the hybrid EV thing coming.
Yeah.
when I build my Unimog MVU 12, I want to have a manual
just happened?
transmission so I can tow my race car. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right.
It's a really good one, especially through the jungles of Isla
I was
Nublar.
going to say,
Yeah.
you're just going to have to plan like 4 days to get to each event because top speed of like 30 miles an hour.
Oh man, and that would be scary. Yeah. I mean, there's no better feel than being connected to the car and actually shifting. Like, you are part of it. You're part of the machine at that point. You're listening for how the car's reacting in each gear.
Yep.
When your revs get to a certain point, it's like, now's the time. And it's all about timing and feel. And I mean, that's why we like manual transmissions, because you're attached.
You're attached to it. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, driving the McLaren, okay. I can't outshift that car, but it's fun to try. To paddle shift the thing. You feel like you're driving an F1 car. Honestly,
that's got the dual clutch, right?
It does.
Okay,
and it shifts so good. On its own. You're just like, okay, I'm terrible. I can't outshift this car up and down. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say you feel disconnected from that car because maybe you are a little bit because you're along for the ride, but driving a manual is more fun. It honestly is more fun.
Yeah, you're just linked in there.
Yeah.
Well, and even like the same thing with the turbo lag. I found with the paddle shifting in my daily, when I'd autocross it, I would have to select the gear that I wanted. If I wanted to shift from second to third or whatever coming out of a corner, I would have to make that shift a good quarter to a half second before.
Be early. Yeah.
And then I had to wait for the car to get there.
Yep.
And it was just paddle shifting on my car felt like I was suggesting to the car where I'd like it to be.
And it's like, well, we've got a range. Let's go more this way.
It's like, I'd like this. And then the car's like, we'll give it to you now.
Well, to be fair, that car is it's a street driver, right? It's not meant for sport driving. The McLaren is meant for sport driving. And that car is so forgiving. Like, it says, oh, you wanted to ship? Okay, no problem. Yeah,
I'm already there.
We got you. Yeah, I already did it. You thought about it? I already did it. You wanted to turn back there? Yeah, we got you.
Yeah.
So, it's a different experience for sure. But that's supercar world.
Sure.
Stuff.
We could talk about supercar world. Yay.
Yeah, we don't want to get into that.
Another episode.
That's a whole nother day. Actually, we're running really long, so we'll probably
always edit.
We could go another 3 hours with Jason. I know that Grant has
heat. I can't.
Yeah, I know that Grant hasn't even touched on his whole subjects. So, what do we
talk about next?
Jurassic Park. So anyway, so in the third movie, you find out that they crashed on an island.
Okay, you just stop it. Just cut it out.
Oh, that's such a beautiful truck. Jason's showing me his truck right now.
Yeah, that thing's gorgeous. And it really is like that blue one up there.
What car's a hard no? Somebody gives you the keys. All you got to do is drive it. and you just like, nope.
If you say a
walk
Mustang,
away.
I'm going to cry.
No, just let him. Let him.
I like this question because
Yeah.
he
This is a
hasn't
great
listened to
The podcast.
He has not
yeah.
listened to the podcast, so
if he says the same car we did.
fantastic. See, this is the one I wanted to
See,
give him a
that's
heads
the
up
thing.
on, so
I
that
know.
he could think about it a little bit. But
I think it's got to be a Prius.
Prius.
Okay.
ooh,
I have
I'm with you.
never felt so disconnected from the road as driving a Prius.
Okay.
Even
Cool.
the new, like
I've
the
never
new
driven
gen-
one, but I tell you what, every Prius driver that I see is terrible.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why terrible drivers pick a Prius,
Yeah.
but they do.
And
So
BMWs.
if you're out there listening to this and you drive a Prius, sell it.
Yeah.
Well, see, and that's the problem is I'm forced to drive a Prius occasionally.
Really?
Oh, really?
A work car?
So
Not
Jason,
my mom.
Oh,
So, hold on. my mom lives like 5 miles from me.
yeah.
But she's older and she's not comfortable driving, so she wants to go to Winco, and Winco is very easy to get to from my house.
Yeah.
So my mom will drive to my house to
Oh, my
pick me
goodness.
up,
Oh, my goodness.
so that I can drive her to Winco.
oh my god.
Why didn't you just go pick her up?
Well, because it's on the way.
Yeah.
And that car's got to get driven at some point.
But
Gotta
yeah, so
oil.
I'll drive her
Sell
Prius with her down to Winco and back to my house, but I don't like it.
So Jason, we're giving out PT Cruisers as a door prize for people who come on the show.
Can we tint the windows?
I don't want to
No.
Nobody can be seen.
It has to look like a fishbowl.
Is that
It makes it better because it's the convertible
popular
one.
answer? Most popular so far.
It's been pretty.
Yeah.
That's a close second. Yeah, or
For
you know,
sure.
it's up there.
Nobody has said Prius, but I agree with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree with it. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
No.
I will say there's a new Prius that's out, and the new version is someone post I don't know if it was a concept car or something. I was talking to a friend about this like 2 months ago, but there's a GR version coming out, and it does look really freaking aggressive.
A GR Prius.
Yeah, like Google.
Okay,
put it on there.
No, I've seen
No,
it. Yeah,
I'm done.
It
I've
looks
actually seen it.
aggressive.
I've seen it on the road.
I don't know what the performance
They
is.
put
but
the
it's
super
different.
spoiler on it.
It's
It's
just
like-
a wedge.
It's
They
like
just
the
made it
face
a wedge
is way more like angry and more like it looks like an 8.6 front end kind of.
It's PRIUS.
Did you type in Dr. Prius?
Prius.
No, type in GR.
Prius.
I put it in, I swear to God.
So bad. Everything's falling apart now.
Hello, Dr. Prius. In to change your
I actually
batteries.
have 2 pages of notes of other things we could talk
Keep
about.
talking.
But it's it's
We
getting.
might have to.
Second episode.
We're gonna have to do a part 2.
real fast. Look at that. That isn't. How's that look?
It is much more aggressive.
Yeah.
It
It looks
really
like
is.
wheels that don't come on it from the factory.
That's
No.
not
It's
a
like
Prius.
no wheel. There's
It
no
is.
Muscular
suspension
Toyota
movement
Prius
there.
shooting
Yeah.
brake needs GR logos and green lights for
Yeah.
production.
That's not a Prius. That probably has that 300 horsepower 3-cylinder.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a fan. I mean, the new one, that car, if that's the one they had come out with originally, I'd be like, that looks pretty
Not
good.
bad.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I'm okay
But
with
knowing
the way
the
it looks.
history of the car, I hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. There's a whole South Park episode about it.
It's not going to look like that
Love me
either.
some
There's
South
no
Park.
way. That's definitely a concept.
Yeah.
But that's a good choice, Jason, for a hard no. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first bump that picture of the car we're looking at there hits, they're folding fenders.
I gotta ask, what would be the worst color for Prius for a hard no then?
Doesn't matter.
Color? Did you say color?
Color, yeah.
Prius, period.
No, I know, but
Any
like,
color. Doesn't matter.
okay.
Yeah, any of them. Not driving it. I'm with you.
I mean,
That's- that's
doo-doo
like-
brown would be a hard no.
Like there's McCorney, Justin McCorney down in Eugene drives
Yes.
a
Yeah.
BMW M3,
Okay.
and it's I think he refers to the color of it the first time we were joking about it as baby poop green.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And that would be a Prius color. I don't know if I could drive. I like it on the M3,
Interesting.
but it's
Yeah.
just a garish enough color that
So
it's like,
somebody puts a baby poop green Prius in front of you
Oh.
and a Woody PT Cruiser. You have to drive one. Which one is it?
Convertible.
wait, the PT
bathtub.
Cruisers are convertible?
The
Yeah, they come
bathtub
with-
convertible Woody.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we're going PT Cruiser.
Oh,
Really?
okay.
Yeah, I think so.
No baby poop, huh?
So
Now the PT Cruiser is purple on the top with the Woody panel.
With the Woody panels, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
It's It's a tough one.
I gotta know about this. Let me pull this up. Would this still be a hard no? Someone actually made a Prius with a Hellcat engine. Would that still be a hard no for you?
I would be more interested.
I'd be more interested.
I'd be way more interested.
At the same time,
because that thing's turning low eights.
I will say
I'd like to hear about the build.
Back in college, that was honestly so back in college when I was going there, Priuses were everywhere and everyone great, not a great car. One of my biggest things, which everyone hated, they were giving me so much flack for it. I was like, could you imagine if you took a Prius and put a twin turbo Viper motor in there? Yeah. In the back?
There's been a bunch of builds that have done that, and actually I'm
because of how
glad they did it.
Dynamic they are, you could make one of the fastest
you might get some top speed out of that. Yeah. It might be scary.
I mean, it's a Prius.
The wheelbase is so short and they're so narrow. Oof, that'd be a scary ride.
Yeah, but
yeah, good build. Kind of cool. I would.
It'd be different.
I'd prefer to drive that over a stock one or a PT Cruiser.
So I will say this though. Again, back in college, because I took the hybrid program to learn how to work on those different cars, and that was one of the first cars that we worked on. When they first were introduced, that was when we first around any kind of hybrid electric vehicle. I was very shocked at the acceleration they have from like 0 to 30. After that, they just fall on their face.
Oh yeah.
But it's very. That's one thing
that's because that's where the gas motor kicks in.
After 30?
Yeah.
But I'm saying is like the one thing the Prius has that not people expect is the quick acceleration at very low speeds.
Because the electric.
Because the electric.
Yeah.
So that's what he's saying. The transmission works inside of it, actually.
Yeah. The original Prius was built to drive on the electric motors at low speed.
We are not going down the electric.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
We are not. You motherfuckers, not doing it.
You ruined our segment. Another Easter egg.
Not doing it. You stop it. You stop it. All right. I've got like 2 more topics, and it does not include electrics.
Okay,
not doing it.
Not on the 10th episode. It ends here.
I mean,
we draw a line in the sand.
We've drawn the line, and you will not cross it. When we do a part 2 with Jason, it'll be all about electrics.
We can start talking about my work.
Yes, because you've got some serious, like really in depth, and I do want to talk about it, but we're not going to do it on this episode.
We won't get into the depths.
Not right now.
We can preview maybe.
So I do have a question for everybody. Okay. This is an everybody dump on this.
Okay.
What newer car would you race? Something within the last 10 years. Cost is not an issue. Well, actually, we're going 2 parts.
Okay.
New
one is the out of our price range, so cost is not an issue. The other one is affordable.
Okay, 2 things to clarify. What is affordable? And second question,
what can you afford, you piece of shit?
Well, I mean,
fuck you.
I mean,
that clarifies it.
I mean,
I don't know. Put a number on it. 40 and under.
Okay. Because I was gonna be like, you say 200 grand. Like,
no, 40 and under.
That's not affordable. That's a house.
40 and under. You're spiking all.
I know.
So 40 and under, a used vehicle.
Okay.
You can get something
newer,
really nice.
What, 2010 and plus?
It's 10 years old.
Okay, so that's 2014 and up.
Yeah.
Okay.
2014.
Jeremy, you go first.
Corvette. That's my affordable.
What?
You can't get that for 40 grand.
That's your affordable.
Well,
what range?
I would go
2002 vet.
C5,
C6.
Yeah, I would go 2002, but I mean,
that's an C5.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the C5s. But those are almost 20 years old now.
But we're talking newer.
So you're talking newer. So I would say C7.
But is that in the affordable range though? If under 40,
you don't think so? You don't think you can pick one up for 40?
Maybe
can you get a Stingray? I bet you can get a base.
Maybe a base automatic.
Yeah, no, I don't know about you could probably get a base manual.
You think so?
40, pretty close to.
Google it. I mean, things are.
I'm not doing that right now.
I don't know if the bases even came in a manual.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I know that a Z06 does because Arthur just got one.
Yeah.
But I don't know about the base. Anyway, that might be on the border.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on the border.
Okay.
But
it's on the border.
Okay.
I mean, C6.
Yeah. C6 definitely.
C6 is doable for that.
But that might be.
It's just outside the year range.
Just outside of the year range.
But newer. Yeah.
I mean, that would be what I would look for.
Okay.
I think because it's a great platform, right?
Great platform.
It is.
Yep.
It's affordable. If we're going unaffordable, geez. probably a McLaren or honestly, I might even go like an Audi RS something. Like a RSTT or something.
You might be able to get that in the affordable range, honestly.
The RSTTs, the newer ones, are like 70 plus.
Oh, well, a 10-year-old one.
Yeah.
Can you get a TT? I don't know.
Maybe, maybe not.
Okay.
I think they're still up there.
Okay. Yeah. What do you got, Grant?
I can think of my. Go, Jason, because I'm running through like 4 or 5 different cars.
It's weird, and it's totally different than what I normally drive. But of late cars that I've seen that I would consider to be affordable, I've been impressed with the new Focus ST.
Okay.
And the new Civic RS?
Yeah.
I've been impressed at how quick those cars are.
They are. And actually they handle out of the box pretty quick.
I mean, not to discredit the people that have been driving them have been talented people, and I've seen that, but the car's got a lot of capability.
Yeah.
For its size and package and what it does, I think they look like they'd be fun, good all-around cars.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Start getting into cost is no object stuff, and I don't know. I mean, I'd like to drive a Koenigsegg or something.
There you go.
Because
I know they're fast as all get out in a straight line.
Yeah.
Well, and how do they do on a track?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
For $2.5 million, I can't expect to find out.
Yeah, but would you be okay?
I like Jeremy's thought of a McLaren. Those are pretty capable track cars.
Yeah.
But would you be okay? Because the new Koenigsegg's are electric driven. Technically, they have a gas. They're hybrid.
They're hybrid.
But the engine powers the electric motors in the back.
Okay.
So how would that affect like the feel of the car and stuff going through them?
Oh, they're definitely different.
Yeah.
They only kick in when needed.
Yeah.
If you want.
Some sort of kind of a traction control situation.
The company I work for does the electronics for that.
Is it? Because I thought it was there's zero transmission. I thought it was that's way the
start
going through. But,
yeah. I want to know how they get 800 horsepower out of like a 4.2 liter twin turbo V8, but it's like, geez.
Well, that's the same as the McLaren's got.
Yeah.
A 4 liter twin turbo.
I've just always admired, and we get into a money, it was no object thing, but I saw a special on is it Christian Koenigsegg?
Yes.
And literally he's talking about how every part on the car is almost like a bespoke piece of art.
It is, yeah. I actually watched one yesterday, I think, with him and a bunch of other people talking just about that.
Yeah.
Isn't the one that sent you?
No,
okay.
I was just browsing YouTube and found this special with these guys on it. He drives like this little, almost an MG kind of thing as his pleasure driver. He's like, I feel more connected to it.
Yeah.
And I don't need the supercar feel. But anyway, what do you got, Grant? What do you think?
Affordable car. I was trying to think something because my mind would say something like I wouldn't like me. I would normally say like a Mustang. Go with that.
Right.
But I know I'm not. I'd rather probably drive a newer Camaro over a Mustang, just because the way the newer Mustang or Camaros feel more like the cars I'm used to for Liger and stuff. And we're talking for a race setting, not for an everyday, correct?
Yeah, race car.
Okay, because I was going to say, if it was every day, I kind of want to say it'd be interesting to try driving like a Hellcat of some kind. But I don't think you can get those affordable in the used market, correct?
Can you get a ZL1 Camaro for...
Maybe.
If that's in the affordable range, I'll get rid of that Civic and
you can get
Focus.
I don't honestly know, but...
I'm fairly positive you can get like an SS Camaro from like 2014, like the low end of that.
Yeah.
And they still make 485 horses. They have independent suspension. You could put 305 wide wheels on them, 305s.
Yeah.
Not a Chevy guy by any means, but I do respect and know what those cars can do.
Yeah, they're very capable, actually.
So for affordable car, probably something like that. Otherwise, if possible, they don't make those anymore new. But the unobtainable That's one thing I'm trying to think what would be new that actually is catching my mind. The hardest part is I like driving. If it's a car that I'm driving on track, it's mainly because I like to enjoy it. And there's not a lot of manuals left for that. We talked about earlier, the T50. That'd probably be one that'd be really enjoyable, but I can't really see myself super enjoying that.
I don't know. Never driven one.
Yeah.
Maybe it'd be great.
Because, well, it'd probably be great, but like, I feel like at least right off the bat, it would be more car than my skill can go with, because I know it'd be great, but like I wouldn't push anywhere near that limit.
Yeah.
So
that's you're overthinking it, man.
Yeah,
Just pick a car.
It would either be I had it up here and I don't know the exact name, which is surprising for me. It would probably either be like a LaFerrari FFX K, or it'd be, the other one that would come to mind would be like a LaFerrari Monza Spec SP2.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, they're probably more the SP2 open cockpit, based off the 8.
Is that Aperta?
No. Because it's the Apertas are still...
They're open cockpit, though. Yeah.
No, I thought the Apertas were still spiders. Is that
maybe?
But this one's fully open. It's based off like a 50s racers Ferrari trying to be retro style, but based off the 812 super fast platform, still having a V8 naturally aspirated, and they're built for a racing series that Ferrari was starting to go with.
Yeah.
They're about like $2 million a piece. Each one looks different in their own unique paint job. So. But still being based off a road car would be something that's still more manageable to drive than something, say, like the FXXK would be fast as all hell.
Yeah.
Super car looking. Everyone would be like, oh, wow, that's amazing.
It's basically an F1 car.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think I'd be, because, I've driven supercars and I've driven, some hyper cars. I still think that car would be out of the realm of me even understanding what that'd be like. And
You're still overthinking it, man.
Well, I'd still like to enjoy it.
I'd learn. I'd figure it out.
But yeah,
you go down a rabbit hole.
As I'm thinking about this,
okay, let's just say the Ferrari Monza Spec SP2.
Okay, fair enough.
Is that Aston Martin Valkyrie available for the
Aston Martin
unobtainium?
Yeah, I would imagine so.
That sounded kind of cool. I saw a clip of that the other day.
Yeah,
was the engine 14,000 RPM?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Oof. My thought was, and I don't know if you can get one for $40,000, but the GT350R, the Mustang.
Oof, yeah, that would be a tough one for 40.
It might be. It might be just outside that range.
You can get a normal.
So is the C7, right?
You can get the normal GT350 for about that.
So that might be.
And that's one I thought about too. Yeah.
So that or a Camaro.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the affordable side. I like the thought of the Camaro.
Yeah, because a basic Mustang of the same era, I don't know, not special enough. A GT350, different animal altogether.
Right. I mean, and that's because I already have a C6 Z06. I love that car. I'm not looking to do anything different, but if I were, that would be kind of where I'd go. And then for unaffordable, probably a 911 GT3 RS, maybe a GT2 RS.
Yeah. Car.
Pretty great. Maybe an Audi R8. I do like that.
And is that still, would that be in the affordable category? Because can you get a high, like an early, let's just say past an early 2008 one high mileage?
Still 200,000.
No, they're like 80 grand.
You should have had a
go buy one.
250K
so
in the category.
No, you can. So like especially the V.
Should have been like a 250K in under category.
Are they even the V8 ones?
Yep. I don't know about the V8.
Because they had the V8.
Oh, what are you talking about?
The Audi R8.
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the 911.
No, I'm talking about the Audi R8.
Oh, okay.
So I was like,
I don't know.
Can that hit affordable? Because I know,
I mean, maybe 80 grand.
Yeah, the V8s, or sorry, the V10s are 80 grand, but more like an early model 4.2 V8. I wonder where that would fall in the category.
But I would definitely want the V10. I don't want the 8. But I think they're still, they're far above the 40 grand.
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know.
I'm surprised you didn't say Ford GT.
Yeah, I have it on my list. I wrote down 4 different cars. That is one of them.
Yeah.
That would be pretty amazing for sure.
Yeah.
It's one of my cars. Okay, so last thing.
Uh-oh.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. Coolest thing you saw this week, car related. And I'm going to preface this by I didn't see much this week. I saw something.
No, I didn't either.
And you saw a jet car.
This was supposed to be something you saw in person, but there are times, weeks that go by you don't see anything really cool. So we kind of expanded that to maybe you saw something online that's pretty cool or this or that. So, I remember what it was. And it was a YouTube thing. Shelby Cobra, an original Shelby Cobra. The body is made out of copper.
Ooh.
It is copper.
But it's an original?
It's an original.
How?
Yep. It's in the Shelby plant there in Las Vegas. I watched a YouTube thing on it.
So, like, what? Did it come from the AC factory and it was a copper? Or did Shelby design it ask for copper?
They took the original chassis, so they have multiples there that are their owned, right? And they hand-built a copper body.
Wow.
Yeah. And they also have one right next to it that's pure aluminum, Anyway, really cool. Yeah.
Is it greened at all?
No, they keep it polished.
Okay.
They said it takes 300 hours to polish it.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because once they start, they have to do the entire car.
Yeah.
And then they just let it go, and it starts to patina a little bit, and it starts to, fade and whatever, and then they'll have to polish it
I
again.
wonder if they have to control the humidity where it's stored at. Like, even
I'm sure that I don't want to call it a museum, but where
collection.
they have the collection, right? Where they have the collection is pretty controlled.
Yeah.
It was actually a really good video.
Can you send it to me?
If I can find it again, I will.
Perfect, and then we'll share it with the listener.
Yep, you bet. So that's what I saw.
Car thing
the
this
copper
week.
Cobra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I don't know that I have a coolest car thing this week.
Yeah.
I mean, I did go by and take a look at that CTSV.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the coolest thing you saw,
That's kind of the coolest thing I saw this week.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
What you got?
I saw a bunch of things.
Well, narrow it down, bud.
Well, we already talked about the Jurassic Park Jeep.
That's the coolest
That's
thing.
not the coolest thing you saw this week.
No,
It's
I want to say it's probably because this is the first thing come to mind was the thing I saw today. I saw someone trailering a 80s Trans Am Firebird.
Oh,
but it had a snorkel ram scoop like for drag racing, but the rest of the car
snorkel
like
on the hood.
Yeah, like a
hood
speed
scoop.
snorkel hood scoop.
Yep.
But it was
Didn't
still
they come with those? Like, wasn't there a
they
trim level?
It was like a shaker hood or whatever.
Okay.
You can
yeah, they had the shaker, but this wasn't that. It actually looked like a torpedo on the front.
Yeah.
Which was interesting.
Yeah.
But the rest of the car looked like it was more of a road car still. There was no Hoosiers on it, no slicks, but it was being trailered. I was like, wow, okay.
That's cool.
Yeah, it might have been just a drag car that someone found. And
you said 80s?
Yeah,
so
like with a screaming chicken
like,
on the hood.
Like the third gen.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm pretty sure it was a 80s version.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's really cool.
It was white. That was the thing that was different.
It had the
chicken.
Screaming
no,
chicken.
it didn't have.
It
didn't have the Phoenix on it.
Okay.
Which, well, at least it was hard to tell because on the trailer, a little bit, different angle. But
taller.
like, I could definitely see the snorkel and everything else. But like, how often do you see a white one though?
I feel like I see quite a few of them.
More than the black.
I don't know that. Probably not more, but I know they're out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was driving by doing some yard work stuff, and I was out in Boring, and somebody had a
boring.
so boring. There was a 92 Camaro RS convertible sitting along the side of the road.
Oh, wow.
Really nice shape.
Yeah.
Baby blue, and I'm like, And I'm just curious. I'm like, I wonder what that would be like. If it's in really good shape, it's like, that would be kind of a fun car to have.
Yeah.
And I pull up, and as I get close enough to see the for sale sign and see that they have $17,000 on it, I just kept driving.
Yeah.
Kind of giggled, but no.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Jeremy?
I'm not real big on them, but I sent Grant a Porsche 914 this week. It's a race version of
A race version?
from Type 7, I think. It's a gorgeous car.
Type 7. I don't know what that is.
Look back in your Instagram.
Okay.
It's a pretty cool car. It's brown and gold. It's got a wing on the back.
Winged 914.
Yeah, it's pretty cool looking.
Wow.
They did a really good job putting this thing together.
Oh, that's
See
cool.
if we can find it again.
Right on.
See, there's a Viper.
That's it.
There we go.
That is. Did you find it?
Yeah, I found it. Take a look at that. Look at the wheels on the back.
Oh,
of
that is
thing.
cool looking.
It's got double wings on it.
It looks extra wide too.
Yeah, see those other
It almost looks like
might even
Ken
be
Block's
stretched.
Hooner.
Look at the front of it. Here, Jason, I'm going to
That's
put you
a
in
really
to show
cool
you. Look
car.
at this.
Yeah, it's pretty wicked.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
We saw another 914er this week. The yellow one I sent you guys.
Yes, Randy Free. I'm calling you out, Randy. Your car is for sale.
Love that car.
Maybe we'll help you sell it, buddy.
Color. I love the bumpers. I really like 914s.
I believe
I'm not a
he
Porsche
listed
guy.
that on Marketplace.
He did.
He
Yeah.
did.
And his personal Facebook page. I'm not
Okay.
sure if it's public on there.
All right. Well, yeah.
But it's
very
it's
beautiful
pretty.
car.
I mean, it's got the California fog light bumpers and then the rear center like console with the dash stuff on it.
Yeah,
So yeah, no, great car.
I know. If I could afford that, I would probably buy it.
I was debating on jumping on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got enough cars though.
I support that 100%.
Yeah.
Yep, I do. All right,
So-
ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for bearing with us. I hope that was entertaining.
Thank you for joining us.
Untitled Car Project. Reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram,
Twitter.
the Twitter, all the things. We have the things. We do have the Facebook now.
The Facebook.
Yeah.
The Facebook.
Still need to make a YouTube channel. I just realized.
No.
No?
Well,
I just want to get it.
I don't know. Whatever. Jason,
But-
thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for
really
coming on,
pleasure.
Jason.
Really appreciate you sitting
We
through
actually
this
should
sweat
do
box.
this.
Yeah.
We should do this again
The
when it's not so
sauna.
hot.
That's the new name.
I do want to do it again. We've got a lot more to talk about with you. You've got
I'll come up with
so
more
much
questions.
background.
We can drop in. We can
Yeah.
do another one. We drop into the electric world.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what
That's
it'll
like-
be.
We
Yeah,
try to
that's
do
what
that
it'll
every
be.
week.
Yeah. Well.
We're gonna get some air
Rob
conditioning set up in
loves
here,
about that.
and
No,
yeah.
I mean,
we'll
like
make it a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I'd talked to you guys before about it too, but I was just looking up, and we're not supporting it directly, but the company that I work for, one of our directors is working with Ford, and
Oh, nice.
the Ford Mustang Supra Cobra Jet, the electric one, right?
yeah,
now.
exactly. Know what
They
you're
just did a quarter mile pass at like 7.7.
Oh, I didn't know that.
7.7,
Wow.
and it's just it's impressive to see what's going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a preview of things to come. Watch for episode
things.
2 with Jason Braunberger. And thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, it's good hearing from you guys. Later.